Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Stars and Sips. Today we are chatting with Melissa for our special fan favorite episode. And we made it. We're going to talk about the whole series, so no more spoiler alerts.
Yay!
Ooh, party. And this is where like the balloons fall down from the ceilings and confetti comes
Yeah,
all over
cue
the
balloons.
place. We're popping
Oh,
bottles.
wait, did we forget to get balloons? We forgot to get bottles. We forgot to get balloons. Oh, well.
We suck. You know, that's what
Yeah.
filters are for.
There you go. I'm Lisa, and today I'm just sipping on some water because I'm boring. Also because my stomach has not been so great today, so spoiler alert. I can't drink.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a very busy weekend this weekend, and I drank a good amount. So I think I need to cool it today.
Pre-gaming for New Year's?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
your
I do still
co-host.
have leftover coffee, so maybe I could drink that.
Ooh, wild and crazy.
Never made it off of my desk this morning.
You know, if you're having issues, caffeine may not be the right.
That's probably why I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever.
I'm your co-host, Agnes, and I had a day and a half at work. So I'm drinking as a peach white wine. I feel like it was peach and something. I don't
Ooh.
remember.
It was
With my
like-
frozen mango pieces.
Yeah, I forgot what
Was
you said
something-
it was.
I don't remember, but you know,
Peach
put the cork-
rosé or something.
no, the other one was strawberry rose.
Oh,
And this was
Then I
the
don't
something peach. I don't know. But every mangoes goes in everything. So it works. It's fine.
Mangoes are delicious, and I love that you freeze the fruit and then put it in your wine. That's really smart. Yeah,
Because it keeps it nice and cold without watering it
Exactly.
down.
yeah. But
and then
also,
plus then you can eat the fruit afterwards.
Yeah, and get a little buzz. Woohoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy fruit. Mhm.
I'm Melissa, and I'm actually saving my liver for New Year's. No, I'm joking. I'm maybe gonna have a glass of champagne, but I have a poppy cherry limeade. So it's a prebiotic soda. So you might want to try that for your because I have one maybe every 3 days or so. And yeah, my tummy feels a lot better with it. So you might want to try those.
Usually I have like more or less an iron stomach,
Mm.
but I think I overdid it yesterday with like the junk food.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I don't know how many kinds of chips I ate yesterday until I was falling asleep. So that might have.
You are not a teenager anymore, Lisa.
I'm not.
You just look it.
I was like looking for soup and grilled cheese until like midnight when my husband was like, "Go to bed."
It's over. He's like, the day is done. Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, but I found tortilla chips." A fucking raccoon.
Yeah.
That's I have the eating habits of a raccoon. Cause it's like whatever I find I eat.
Yeah.
Until
I'm
it
more like-
catches up to me.
I'm more like a frat or like a college student level because I'll like make little pizzas on English muffins, and I just tend to only eat like appetizers. Like I love samosas, I love egg rolls, I love empanadas, but it's like that's all if I'm just an appetizer or a salad or ice cream, and that's really yeah.
She's after my
Lisa?
heart.
Okay, so
Somehow I have a stomach ache and I'm hungry now.
I'm so sorry. I'm so evil. I'm so
Lisa
evil.
with salads is not even funny. Like it's beyond comical with Lisa and her salads. You can make, I don't know, a catering style box of salad. She's in it like Flynn. She's like, give me. We're
I'll
like,
eat the whole damn
okay.
thing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite bedtime snack.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
She eats a head of lettuce like an apple. No, I'm just joking. Well,
Oh my
she-
god. Oh
well,
wow. Yeah.
Not
Would
like
you-
an apple, but I do eat. But one head of romaine lettuce is a serving size.
Oh, okay.
At least
All
for
right.
me, it is.
I mean, I was like, more power to you. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when she's angry, just throw lettuce at her. I'm like, yeah.
I know. Yeah. I was like, I also need a bowl of Cheerios. Like I get a bowl of Cheerios and my salad because like
I like
I work
Cheerios.
I work pretty hard on the salon on Sundays. So last night when I came home, we had big salad night. That's what my husband and I call it. And it's just salad, and then I usually get a little bowl of Cheerios for my dessert. Although honestly, I did bring home cupcakes yesterday. So But I was like, life in moderation, 2024 is almost over. Let me get my cupcake while I can.
Yeah, moderation, I believe in
2024
it.
has
Yeah.
been a bit disappointing. Eat the
Yeah.
cupcakes.
Yeah, I know exactly. I was like, they were on sale. I mean, come on. And they had sprinkles. I mean, I'm only human.
Eat the
I mean, you can't
cupcake.
say no to that.
I mean, I'm only human. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this has been a journey. And I have a question for Melissa. Since you listened to the last episode, did her reaction to the end fit what you would have guessed?
Honestly, like, because I'd only started listening to you guys maybe about 6 to 9 months ago, and then I binged everything. So, yeah, I really binged everything. Once I found out that you guys existed, I listened to every single all the way back from season 1.
And we didn't even have
Um,
to pay her that much to say that.
No,
No.
it was a deal. It was a sweet
Yeah.
deal.
No, I just love, and honestly, when I was listening to the final episode of Lost today, I was like, I'm a huge fan of Lost. I'm a big nerd, and that's what got me in. But now that I've listened to you ladies, I'm like, you ladies could really do anything. And I just love hearing your interactions. That's really the highlight for me personally, as a fan of y'all's podcast, is like, they couldn't do it. Like, you could bring people on, you know what I'm saying? But really the spice is you two together. And it's that, oh, Agnes, but it really is like, you guys have a shorthand because you've known each other for like 40 years. You were like you're born together practically. Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, and it really shows through, and just seeing you guys' personalities, it's really cool. And you guys are really cool. And even when I was listening to it, I was like, wow, they're really interesting, and just they're so open, yeah, but mindful about keeping their own privacy, and I respect that. And it's very interesting, and I would listen to whatever you guys have next. um but yeah, I listened all the way back from the beginning, and I will say that the background, the tech, the production is a million times better.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys
No, for
really
sure.
you guys
Thank
really
you.
killed it. Well, sometimes you'll do something and you might never get better at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might practice at something but not really have the passion and the desire to really get better, so you don't. So there are some podcasts out there that they're just like, see, and hey, that's kind of cool. You're doing it in your car, like whatever. But you guys really
We got
upped the
lucky.
value.
I mean, we
Yeah.
got lucky that there was a pandemic and all of a sudden we knew what Zoom was because
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
no idea before.
Yeah.
So shortly after we started, it was like, oh, Zoom, what's this? Because we tried on the phone, we tried
Skype
via
sucked.
Skype,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then it was like Zoom came into the equation,
It wasn't just
Mhm.
work only. Zoom made it possible
and
for
they
everyone
were
to be like,
and they
here.
were
Yeah.
allowing
Yeah.
people to do the conferences without the limits, which helped
Mhm.
us enormously. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we were
Mhm.
very aware that those first episodes sucked balls.
No,
Yeah.
but no, it what kept me coming. I mean, again, love the show Lost, and honestly, I kind of liked that Agnes hated it. um, it was because I've had the pleasure of doing a podcast with you ladies before, and I had mentioned, I don't know if it was on tape or before, but I kind of liked that Agnes was the devil's advocate, and that Lisa was like, "Oh my gosh, yay!" But you weren't also like a super nerd like me, where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these 3 tones mean this and blah 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 blah."
She
Where
like off camera, she totally
Yeah.
was. She was a
Okay.
crazy red string chick. Like she
Yeah.
I was like, Lisa,
It's
I quit.
hard though.
Yeah.
It's so hard because there were many things that I wanted to say,
Yeah.
but I can't make something important that she doesn't think is important without maybe giving something else away.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to pull the strings and then I have to pull dummy strings and
Mhm.
just go off on whatever little loophole without letting
Rabbit
her
hole.
in on the secret.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was just really interesting to see it through Agnes's eyes, because it was like watching it myself for the first
Yeah.
time. again.
For me too,
Yeah,
though.
it was really cool to see what you picked up on, and also just like the 2024 vibes of it versus back in the day, and how certain things would be different and certain things would not be done. And also how I remember thinking watching it when I was 20 years old, that I was like, "Oh shit, like there are subtitles on my television." Like I had never seen something like that before. So, just the show was revolutionary, and I think you guys, what you guys did and how you guys persevered and really made this really cool. I think it's really cool. So, I think it's kind of, and even how you guys paused for a while and then came back into the last 3 seasons, almost like the show where it had the writers strike, and then they kinda had to figure out what the show was for the final 3 seasons. I was like, "It's kind of like life imitating art."
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
did do a
So
strike, kind of. Now that you mention
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
she had
I'd like,
heavy real life shit going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
as much as I wanted to be like, no, bitch, you can't quit on me. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
what are you gonna
thankfully
do? Come to Wisconsin and make me
yeah.
record?
don't fucking threaten me. But the only reason I didn't is because, it was like your mom. So, I couldn't.
Real life stuff.
Now, had it been
Yeah,
your brother, I would have been like, no, fuck him.
I mean, if it was my brother, would I really stop recording?
But that's true. That's true.
yeah.
I'll go over there and fight your brother.
He may like that, Lisa.
Anyway, I'll kick his ass.
Lisa, I think, were you surprised?
I've
Lisa?
also known her brother since elementary school. So,
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so were you surprised? Were either one of you surprised about my
I was
reaction?
actually a little bit surprised
I
by your
was.
reaction.
Well, because it's more common that people hate the ending, and you came away kind of like how I came away, where you're like, you know what, they didn't answer everything, but that was good enough. It was a feel good. That was good enough for me. And also, it was like, my God, what else could they do? Like in retrospect, like I'm glad that it didn't go on for 88. It's not a Grey's Anatomy or whatever. That it was once they figured out the idea, which like was for season 4, 5, and 6. I think that's when they actually knew where they were going.
Yeah.
Because I think the first 3 seasons were building these characters and having you fall in love with them. And then the last 3 seasons were like, okay, we know where we're ending. Let's land this plane, literally
Took
and
them
figuratively.
3 seasons to figure that out. I really
Yeah,
think they were
yeah,
completely on every drug imaginable, and they were just like, let's write that. Okay, that's a plan.
yeah. I mean, it could have been. I've listened to different writers of TV shows because I'm a writer and I like to listen to writers talk about writing. But the guy that did Breaking Bad, he said that he'd often put his characters in a corner, having no idea how to get them out, but then he would synthesize it. And I think maybe back in the early 2000s, they were like, they didn't have that much to land on. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't really, like, I think Shannon could have been a much more interesting character.
I agree.
Yeah, like, and then that's why I loved your thoughts on Shannon Agnes, because she could have been, a badass jungle bitch, but
I don't remember my
because
thoughts.
you said
I'm
something
so
along those lines,
glad
yeah.
you're here because I
Yeah.
don't.
But yeah, I'm a big proponent for Shannon. I really like Shannon. I felt that you had that same vibe too. And you were kind of like, they just wasted her. Like, what the fuck is this? So I think if it had been more in the modern day, I think they would have kept her longer. And also because she was beautiful. At the very least, in 2024, they'd have been like, look at this hot woman. We'll
Hell
just have
yeah,
her
Maggie
stand around and be
Grace is
hot.
But
fucking drop
seriously,
dead gorgeous.
a hot
Yeah.
babe with totally badass attributes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Kate started off with the badass kind of, and then she just
Mhm.
went plop. I'm like, girl, you're a wet noodle now.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
for me. That was a big problem with the Kate character, is that it was very repetitive. And the little cartoon short that we watched,
Hmm.
Spot on.
it was spot
Yeah.
on. It was like, Kate, you're just good at creating love triangles. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But so one of the things that you just said was that a lot of people, when they watch the ending, but I wonder if Agnes, I'm trying to think of how to word this.
I feel like I'm always being put on the spot. I'm in trouble. I'm feeling
Yeah,
in the
no,
principal's
definitely.
office.
So, okay, probably most people didn't get to the ending unless they enjoyed the show,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
if you didn't enjoy the show, you weren't going to continue watching.
Mhm.
Agnes, if you were watching this in real time, you would never have made it to the end. So your opinion of the end would be null and void. So I feel like we only have opinions of the end from people who liked the show and stuck with it.
Yeah.
So I think your opinion is really like a unicorn because
Oh.
you stuck with it despite not really liking it.
Not like I had a choice in the matter. I'm sorry.
I mean, you did. I mean, you could have just absolutely said like, no, I quit. Like, you don't pay me enough.
Yeah.
You still don't pay me enough.
Yeah, don't pay me enough.
But that you should have. Side note, I remember I was in my car heading to work, and I just pulled in, and I'm like, Lisa, I'm ready to come back, and I kind of thought she was gonna like, jump through the phone out of happiness. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
You could feel the energy. You're like, oh my gosh, you're states away. I can feel that.
I think I
energy."
regret this. I'm like, I regret saying this, but I did it because I just missed hanging out with Lisa. It wasn't about the show. I just miss Lisa.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that shows through. I mean, it's obvious. It's just like because when I first met my husband, it was around season 3 of when the show was showing. And I didn't have cable, or I did have basic cable, but I didn't have any way to record it. I was very poor and I didn't own a computer. So I would tell my job that I had school on Wednesday nights, but really Lost was on. And when we first started dating, he was like, "Oh, hey, I have Wednesday off." And he's like, "Oh, well, but you can't go because you got school, right?" Because he and I worked together. So we knew that this was, and I had to tell him, I was like, "Oh, I actually don't have school. I watched Lost." And he was like, "You have got to be kidding me." And I was like, "No, I'm for real." Like and it also worked out because usually when there was a hiatus on the show, that's traditionally when colleges would be on hiatus, so to speak, on break. So I could have a summer break and, work Wednesday nights. But he actually watched the first 2 seasons and caught up. Like he rented it from Blockbuster, and just so that way we could watch it together on Wednesday nights, and that became like our thing. Because he's like, "Well, I know you have Wednesday nights off, and so do I." So that's the fact that you did that, Agnes. We're like, "Oh, I'll watch the show," even though, like, as a listener, I was like, "Man, this woman really is like." She's like, "These people are attractive, but I really," and I think it also hurt because to me, Saeed is a hottie, but I guess he reminds you of your ex.
He
So,
looks
like,
just
He
like my
looks
daughter's
a
father.
lot like him.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, then you have an excellent taste. So I'll just put it, I mean,
He was a good-looking guy, just
visually,
not baby
visually.
daddy.
Yeah. Visually, excellent taste. So top tier taste there. So yeah, so I could understand why maybe you were like, "Oh, good lord." There was had a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth just off the bat. But yeah, I mean, it's that kind of community with this show, that it's this weird sci-fi show that nerds talk about and have a whiteboard and all the red strings. But yeah, it brings people together because I would have never met you ladies, and I think you guys are so cute.
And her
So
husband. I feel like Lost brings people together. Lost finds people. And then
yes,
yes. Oh, I kind of
yeah.
want to cry. Like, where's my tissues?
Oh my god.
And I didn't expect that at all. Your
me?
Oh
feelings,
yeah.
Who can
like
okay,
I expected it from me. And as a matter of fact, right,
who-
I'm
I
going to
don't
bring out
understand.
the list. I'm going to bring out the list. Okay.
Which list?
And now the list that I keep.
Hold on one second with your list. I need to ask you guys a question.
Uh-oh.
Who
Uh-oh.
can watch that last episode and everyone coming together and remembering, and it's just like this feeling of being found and finding
Mm.
and connecting and just like, this is it. This is my person. Who can watch that and not cry? Like, who could just sit there and watch all this shit happen and just be like, all right. Like,
I
listen,
mean,
I am a cold-hearted ice princess. But that, I was just like, oh, that's so beautiful.
So
I
I have a
mean,
note here that
Uh-oh.
says season 6, episode 4. I would tell you when you might need an Ativan because some of the episodes are going to be rough, and you said you have no feelings.
I don't, because
The lie detector showed that was a lie.
one episode, Melissa's my witness. How many, no, you might not have known this. No, you wouldn't, it's off record. There have been numerous and sundry episodes, at least like, this is a hard one. This is the hard one. You're going to cry. And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't feel it. She's like, how do you not cry? I'm like, yeah, that wasn't it. So
I
one episode and 6 seasons, I actually cried.
I
I think
mean,
there were some times where you did feel emotion, but you didn't necessarily cry.
Right, it's emotional. I can
Yeah, yeah,
understand the emotion, but I'm like,
yeah.
not getting tears out of
well,
just
that's the
anything.
thing, right?
Now,
Like
if Vincent was
episodes.
killed, I would have cried. That's a difference,
Well, you would have probably left the show. Yeah,
I
you
would
would.
have.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would have.
yeah. You'd have been like, Lisa, you would have hated Lisa.
I
Yeah,
would have. I
yeah.
almost didn't watch John Wick because of the opening
Oh,
scene.
because the
Because
whole
of the dog,
point
yeah.
is
I
the
turned it
puppy.
off.
Yeah.
I turned it
Oh,
off, and my
yeah,
friend's like, "No, just push through. It's like you got through the hard part." I'm like,
yeah,
"No!" It took me like a week. I'm like, "Fine," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's fine."
yeah. I mean,
When
it is
Melissa,
vengeance for
oh,
the puppy.
Right. That's
oh
what.
hell
But
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah. Once I realized what happened, I'm like, "Oh no, fuck, nah, I'm tapping out. Done."
So Melissa, when you watched the finale, like the first time that you watched it, you said that you felt like, okay, this is how it is, or were you disappointed? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How did you feel about it?
I really loved it. I loved it because it, even from a storytelling perspective, it started with the characters and it ended with the characters. And I personally liked that they all met up, and I liked that the Flash Sideways was really just them almost attempting to come face to face with their demons before they crossed over. Because I also, I mean, to be frank, even before I saw the show, I kind of always thought that that would be something, or like the show The Good Place, like that would be something where you
Mhm.
have to kind of face, yeah, I know, really good show, face all your demons before you can go on to whatever, molecular structure you are next. So I did like that, and I loved bringing back all the actors, like having Maggie Grace come back. When Shannon came back, I was like, "Oh my god." And then just seeing Claire happy and Charlie happy, and also getting that just little aside from Ben and Hurley, where Hurley was like, 2 thumbs up, dude, like for not being an asshole at the end. So, and also Ben being present of mind enough that he's like, I have to really make right by my daughter and by my kidnapped daughter's mother. He's like, I really have to make right by these 2 women before I can move on. So, I really thought, and when it was done, and I was bawling my eyes out the whole time, and I think my husband was maybe a little, but I was crying so much I didn't even know. But I did turn to him and I was like, "Oh my gosh, baby, will you be in my church when it's all over?" And he's like, "Yes, baby, I will." But he's an atheist, so he's probably like, "Can it just be like a garden, or like we meet in a meadow?" Yeah. So,
But that was another beautiful thing, right? Is that
mm,
even the church scene in Lost, it was a church, but when you look at
the iconography, it's all from different
it's
religions.
all
Yeah.
different religions, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
And also, if
everyone
you think
welcome.
about it, yeah, like Saeed was a known Muslim man. We only see him, I think, pray once throughout the entire series, but like he
Mhm.
is Muslim and he claims to be Muslim. So even he was there passing on with the rest of them. And yeah, and definitely Claire seems a little, titsy twirly. So I'm sure she has like some maybe Wiccan beliefs or something. But
Getting
she's all
crazy.
about
She
nature.
she prays to Danny DeVito like I do.
Yeah, yeah.
It's it, I fuck with Agnes because I'm like, I don't know, like I was brought up, I mean, this is an aside, right? I was brought up Catholic. I don't necessarily have anything against religion. I just don't find myself being very religious the older I get. And I said, but I think it's funny that I still use terms like, oh, God forbid, or thank God. I said, because really, I could say like, thank Danny DeVito, and it would mean just as much. She's like, I don't know why I'm friends with you sometimes, but
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because I'm the reverse. My mother was raised Catholic. She went to Catholic school from kindergarten all through high school. So when she had children, she's like, I'm not forcing religion on you. So we weren't traditionally raised as, Catholic, but I consider myself Catholic if anyone asks. But it wasn't anything about religion. I didn't care. I acknowledged it. Great. As I'm getting older, I find myself a little bit more focusing on my spiritual growth. Not so much about organized religion, but
Mhm.
it's funny how you just like, okay, Lisa is like, yeah,
Yeah.
Danny DeVito. I'm like, oh, okay, let me go get a menorah and a cross, and I want all the religions around me because they all. If anyone hates me, I'm sorry, but they all say the same thing: be a good person.
Be a good person. That's
That's
it.
Well,
all
yeah,
religions. All religions.
yeah.
Try to be better, grow as a person, and be good.
I'm just gonna start my own.
Oh Lord. I see
I don't know.
wine. Maybe
That's that's a lot of organization for me. That sounds like my worst nightmare. I would definitely be a follower of a cult, but I would not
See?
be the
See,
leader.
nobody wants to be the leader. I could step
I
into that role. I
yeah,
will
no,
have
no,
my
no.
own cult. Listen,
Yeah.
we're not jumping off cliffs. We're not
Oh,
drinking
well,
the
definitely not.
Kool-Aid. We are going to be happy. We are going to have snacks and
and
wine and TV.
Yes. I mean, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm
be a
in.
good.
Yeah.
And we have like
Fun.
also like a fantabulous library. I'm to like never
Of,
ending.
And
of course,
and
of course.
people
Yeah.
can bring me gifts. That's
Oh, I
that's
mean,
also required. You have to just bring me
yeah.
gifts in order to get membership.
Oh,
And
okay.
but after that, it's okay.
I'm not a
We're good.
thoughtful gift giver, but I'm a practical gift giver. So
I
you
like
might get like
practical gifts.
slippers or a
Do you
robe
want
or
me to
something.
send you my
Oh,
electric bill?
Yeah.
I like gifts. I like
well, if she gives you
electricity.
slippers in a row, you could turn off the heat in
Yeah,
the
then
winter.
yeah.
There you
Might be all
go.
good. Yeah.
Very, very practical.
It's a win-win.
2 gifts in 1.
Her membership is approved.
Oh, thank you. Wait, was that me or her? I don't know.
Well, I don't know about Agnes, but Melissa's bringing me slippers and a
See,
robe.
I don't know
Membership
where. Like
approved.
Melissa's down on my end, and
Oh,
you're to
Melissa's
my
up on my
left.
end.
Okay. We look like assholes.
Because we are. No. I'm curious if your thoughts on the end have changed in rewatches or over the years, or has it always just felt equally as good to you?
For me personally, because I watched it live and in person, and I've watched it many, many times since. Like I'd probably say I've watched every episode at least 10 times, to be frank. Because it is just one of those things where I'll kind of turn on and have in the background. Because
This
I
is not a
have
show I can have on in the background because I can't not pay attention.
I have ADHD, so I kind of like to have long dramatic things because I'll do that with Stranger Things and other shows. I would just like to have everything on in the background. But for me personally, it almost holds at this point in my life where I'm 40 versus 20. Now it holds more of a sentimental attachment to my own personal life. Meaning, like when I first started watching the show, I was really in a very dark time in my life and I was very depressed. And in a way, it's not like it gave me hope and I didn't kill myself or whatever because of Lost, but it was just like at least something to look forward to. And it was interesting and it had great storytelling, I thought. Um, and I still do really like the ending. I think that you can tell that there's ebbs and flows in the storytelling, but overall, I thought it was great. I liked it better than how they ended Game of Thrones, and I really was up until the very end. I was right there with Game of Thrones. And then I was like, maybe just an episode or two back, you know. But Lost, I think, was a good full circle moment, and it also reminds me of the full circle moment of my life, you know, because when I moved here to Houston when I was 20, I really had nothing. I had my car and like my clothes, and that was it. And you know, now I'm married. Now my husband and I are just put down on a loan application, to hopefully buy a house this summer. So, you know, I've had this whole career as a hairdresser. I'm going to be publishing my 11th title in
And you're a college
2025,
graduate.
and I'm a college
College
graduate. So it's
graduate.
yeah, so it's really like so for me personally, the show is interesting and everyone's really hot to look at, obviously. And I do like to think about different theories and like, you know, for instance, was Aaron a candidate and was that why he took Claire and yada yada yada. But I do like to think about things like that, but it also holds more to my own life and I see the circle of my own life. And I think any good story, you know, that has an impact on your life or any good music can really have an impact on your life. You'll hear a certain song, I'm sure that's true of both of you, and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I remember this moment," or I remember this
Absolutely.
person. Yeah. So for me, Lost is that it's a touchstone, so to speak. And that's why I love interacting with people that also like it or oh, maybe devil's advocates, as
Or hate
Agnes
it.
was. Yeah.
But you're
But I
willing
mean,
to talk about it.
exactly,
I
and
will
that's
always talk
yeah,
about it. 'Cause I
yeah,
always have an
yeah,
opinion. Whether you look,
yeah,
I'm one that always has an opinion.
yeah.
For me, I feel like the ending has come to mean more the more I watch it.
Mm,
Because I feel like every time I rewatch, it it like pulls the strings more. If I
okay,
don't
yeah.
know, like, and I don't know why, but I feel like this time when I watched the end, specifically for the podcast, I I mean, I'd like cried the whole episode. And I don't know if it was also symbolic because it was like, and not that the podcast was gonna end, but this part of the journey was coming to a close.
Yeah.
Because so after Agnes had to step away, we had gotten to the end of season 3. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna keep watching for myself because I felt like it's like I don't want to leave the ball hanging. So I watched the rest of this, like I binged it in like probably 2 or 3 days. I watched the
Mm,
past 3 seasons because I just felt like, okay, I don't know when she's coming back, if she's coming back, but I wanted to continue. I don't remember having this many feels. And I don't know if it's also because when you're binging, like you go on to the next so quickly, so you don't have a chance to absorb, but I watched it twice for the recording because I watched it and then we couldn't record and then like it was like a week later we were gonna record. So I watched it again just to, and both times it was like, oh, like, like ugly cry. Like as soon as I hit like start, I was like, okay.
Because you knew it was coming. You're like,
I
I'm gonna
know
start
what's
crying.
coming. And
yeah.
it's like as soon as you see their emotions, it's like okay. Like and some more than others, right? Like when Kate says thank you to Charlie, it's so stupid. And it's like with Sawyer and Juliet, it's like, oh, forget it.
Oh
Just
yeah, Sawyer and Juliet.
forget
That
it.
was,
Just
I
mop the
think I
floor.
cried hardest with them, I think. Actually, I
I
cried
100.
hard with all of them, but I think they were the ones I was just like, yeah. And of course, Son and Jen.
And yeah.
Yeah. Although it's so funny. I have watched it 1,000 times, like I said, and I never ever thought about the fact that they left their child behind. And then you guys bring it up, and then even at the end when she's like, "No, save yourself." You're right. She should have said for our daughter, but she doesn't,
Right.
and that had never ever crossed my mind. But I don't have children, so that might be it. And also Kate leaving Aaron made sense to me because she had that premonition of Claire saying, "Don't bring my son."
Yeah.
And also I'm under the impression from it's my headcanon that Aaron is a candidate. And basically, in order to make it so he could have a normal life, they would force this pull away from him on the island, basically. And his mother, Claire, would be sacrificed there essentially, and that's why she went
Mhm.
crazy.
But
But
also, I mean, just the fact
yeah,
that Kate's plan was to go back and get Claire.
correct to come. Yeah.
So
But
that makes more sense.
And then she left
yes,
him with his grandmother. So it wasn't so pain.
correct.
Like
It was
once they
yeah,
got to that episode, I was like, okay, that's
And
not so
even
bad.
yeah. He's
for
with
me, even
grandma. Yeah,
Son saying, I'm going to go back and get my husband wasn't necessarily the bad part. To me, it was like, okay, well, now you're dying and he doesn't
yeah,
have to. And you're not like,
exactly.
no,
Yeah,
It's just
you
yeah,
like
got a
it
kid
was
at
one
home.
bad decision after. So you have Kate who left another woman's son with their grandmother. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I can
yeah,
appreciate that. You're bringing back his mother.
correct. Yeah,
Okay, fine. But as a mother, Son, side-eyeing you, to leave your child on a mission that you might not come back from, and then what?
Yeah.
This is the island you almost did not escape from to begin with. So you're gonna go back into Lion's Den and leave your child without parent and guess
Yeah.
what? She left without both parents. So I was like, you that was a fail. For me personally, that was a fail. Especially knowing the man that your father was. Just and then granted, you left it with your mother, but still that man
Yeah.
is gonna be in your
He's in the
child's
mix.
life. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be damned. That would have been the end
Yeah.
of my role in the series. I'm like, yep, not doing that.
Yeah.
That still bothers me to no end though. But I forgave them on that last episode because it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I mean, it did come, and also because their daughter wasn't there in the church, it was almost like, in a way, maybe she had a better life. And maybe, hopefully, who knows, maybe her grandfather passed away and left her with a lot of money and she became educated and had a great life. Almost as if you give up your kid for adoption. That's how I guess I kind of thought about it, where I was like, oh, well, because, Aaron was there at the end as the little baby. So I was
Because
almost like, yeah,
because Claire was able to go back to him. Did she go back? She made
yes,
it back, right?
yes,
So
she did
she was
make it
able
back.
to
Yeah.
go back to
And
him.
reconnect with her child.
So
Yeah.
they did what they had that relationship where they can build this purgatory to find
Yes.
justice.
But
Yes. Yeah.
Son
I
and
have a
Jen never
question
were
about it.
able to build that relationship with their child to bond for
Yeah.
them for her
Yeah.
daughter to
Well,
become part of
Son
that
had a
life.
small time.
But the daughter cognitive wasn't able to make that bond to say, hey, when I die, I want to go back to my parents. You know what I mean? She was so young.
Yeah. It might have
Right.
been. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
So one of the things that I guess still confuses me about the end scene with the church is that I feel like the whole Flash sideways is still very Jack centric. So like in the last scene on Island, he sees
Mhm.
the plane fly overhead, Ajira. And then in episode 1 of season 6, it kind of begins and he's on the Flash sideways plane. So I feel like it's kind of like his Flash sideways begins as he dies. And I guess he's
Yes.
thinking about the plane, so he's on the plane and it's like it never happened and so on and so forth. So I guess I always felt like this was from his perspective more than anything else. But then Christian says this is a place you made together. So it's like
Mhm.
if they made it together, okay, let me go back. If this is all from Jack's perspective, then it makes sense why maybe Saeed wouldn't be with Nadia in the church because Jack didn't know Nadia. Jack knew Saeed and Shannon together.
Yeah.
Jack never knew Son's daughter.
But
So
he
then it
did
like
raise
it
Aaron.
makes,
Yeah.
but he knew Aaron. Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that the people in the church are all people that Jack knew. And that even though obviously
So you're trying to say, let's say let's just
yeah.
say if the show was Claire centric, whatever,
Mhm.
one that was, they would still make this place for them to get together, but like the storylines for them to get there would look different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Like, like it made like she did.
Well, I just thought
Claire
about it
got a
because
good
when you were
example.
saying
Let's
that,
say Hurley, because he's been there from the beginning to the end. Let's say Hurley, because he knows mostly everybody.
well, wait a minute. I just thought of something. Although that doesn't quite make sense because Ji Yun, even though she was conceived on the island, she never actually was on the island. But then
Correct.
again, neither was Penny.
Yeah.
Penny was at the church.
But Jack knows Penny because
Jack knows. Right.
Yeah.
her ship, like these are people he knows. So right. So if it was taken from like say Hurley's perspective, they still made this place for them to come together, but their process will look different from Hurley's point of view.
But I'm not talking about the process. I'm talking about the
actual storyline would
the
be a
people
little bit
who
different.
were at the church. As in, if Sun and Jin were there and they had a kid,
Okay.
even though
Okay.
they didn't, I mean, Sun did know her daughter for a couple of years.
So okay, so in that
So
place,
why wasn't the
was
kid
she there? Maybe
there?
if Sun had, let's say from Sun's point, if it was Sun centric, that's funny. Would her daughter be in that church with her? That's a question to ask. Like in theory.
See,
I wonder.
and to me that still doesn't make sense, only because if we were looking at it through Sun's eyes, would the guest list change when this is a place that they made together? So
I
I
don't
feel
think it
like
would
who's
change.
there is who's there. So and who's not there is who's not there. These are the guests. These are the people who showed up
Yeah.
to the party. But I'm guessing that it's somehow still Jack centric because the people that Jack knows are there and the people that Jack and how he knows them. Right? Like he only knows Aaron
Yeah.
as a baby.
I think
True.
also I think also your point can be proven because the show literally begins with Jack opening his eye and closes
Closing,
with them
that's the
close. So
Yeah.
it literally is like one thought it is one thought process.
from
It is
Jack.
technically one arc. So
And then
even though there are all these people involved, because honestly, I kind of stole that idea with the book series that I'm writing, where like there is lots of POVs, but I will kind of concentrate more on one character.
Okay.
And so it's like their book, so to speak. So I kind of can see that. So I think that you're correct, Lisa. But also as far as Ji Young, like not to sound harsh but from a writer's perspective, they only created her that way she would get off the island and Jin would sacrifice his life for her to get off the island. And then
That's a good
she would
point.
only, and because they needed to separate the two of them some way, somehow. And also they needed to bring up this whole thing about, oh my gosh, when you're pregnant on the island, like you die, like it's really fucked up. So, and
Right.
since Claire had lived and Claire was essentially an outlier, we had to have and it couldn't be Kate because they wouldn't ever really put Kate in that much danger. Um, but Sun, and also, oh, they're connected back with your husband. So it is definitely a writer's thing. And to be frank, I think either they forgot or like didn't really care, or they were like, we really, or they were like secretly, we only really created this baby to create all this other cool stuff that happened, not to actually have them be connected with the baby.
connected with the baby.
Yeah. So and like I said, I didn't realize that I had never even thought about it until I started listening to you guys in particular, about this topic. But
I never thought
it,
about it before either, honestly.
yeah.
Well,
But
especially in regards to Sun and Jin.
yeah, but from a writer's perspective, you had to separate that pair because if they had left the island together, they would never ever come back.
No, there'd be no reason
Yeah.
to.
Right. There's
And
no
you
more story.
couldn't, and you wouldn't want to leave Sun there because they really wanted to have Juliet be like the only chick because she was like, honestly, they killed Charlotte, the poor girl. But, because again, I mean, I love Juliet. And I'm so glad that she at least got something, but I really feel like they dropped the ball on like every single one of these women, these poor women.
Seriously, all of the women were killed. And back to
Yeah.
Jack for a second. Jack, to bring home Lisa's point with, hi, Stella.
Oh, Stella.
The whole was the season in the season 3, beginning of season 4, when they like, we got to go back. He also spearheaded them going back to the island. He was
Yeah.
the one. He opened his eyes. He spearheaded coming back. He closed his eyes. He had it from beginning, the middle, and the end. And it's funny how Jack is the one that got on my nerves the most. I liked Ben more than I liked Jack. Even like evil Ben in the beginning.
Ben was
He's a
probably
character.
he's one of the best characters on television I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that actor Michael Emerson is also, I've seen him in other stuff. There's a show called Evil, which I don't know if
Yes.
you ladies have seen, but
I have.
They filmed some of it in one of the bars that my husband likes to go to in Brooklyn.
oh
Oh.
shit. Oh, how cool. Yeah. But I mean, he is so good in that show, and like if I ever met that actor in real life, I would run away. You know,
I don't know. I'll
Nobody-
be terrified of him.
I mean, no pun
Yeah.
intended, but like nobody plays evil better than him.
With him.
yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
But
die
even
on that hill.
his wife, who did play Emily, his mother in the show,
Mhm.
she said that's what attracted her to him. She's like, he's such a talented actor. She's like, he's so good at his job. It was a turn on, and I was like, hey, yeah. I was like, I feel that.
Like, listen, anybody who's like excels at what they do is a complete turn on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you rockin' being like whatever it is. Like you're like the best road builder ever. Come here.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Like you
Yes,
Nobody
yes.
lays that tar like you do.
I mean, that could be taken a whole couple different ways.
Yeah.
You said it, Lisa. I just walked through the door.
Are you done?
For a
Okay.
moment. Until you say something else.
Melissa, I want to hear your thoughts on Eloise, because she's another
Mm,
character who has kind of blurred the lines.
yeah.
Eloise has given Lisa like lost headaches.
She is
Oh,
one that still gives me lost headaches. Yeah.
I will say I have kind of a theory that also includes like Desmond and Daniel Faraday.
Okay.
So I think the three of them are in essence like the most special. And I think Eloise, it's because Daniel came to her in and was murdered by her, and she had this journal. That essentially is, I think, how Eloise was able to tell a lot of the future. And I believe that she had a lot of these flashes that obviously Desmond had. Um, and granted, now the writers did kind of have Desmond only have those flashes to predict Charlie's death and yada yada, and then it kind of like never happened again. But the fact that even in the Flash sideways, Desmond appeared on the plane magically, and Desmond, even in the episode Happily Ever After, he just kind of appears in the airport and he's staring at his reflection. And then Hugo happens to be like, "Hey, dude, like we're over there." Like he's with the group, but not with the group. And I also think there's something to be said as far as Daniel Faraday as that's concerned as well, where he also can almost predict the future. And it's also because Desmond came to him and gave him information. In that one episode, The Constant, where he goes and says, "Oh, you're just on an island." And Daniel Faraday is like, "Oh shit, I'm on an island." And then he's able to write in his journal, "If you need a constant, it's Desmond Hume." And I think all of that is connected. This mother and son can essentially tell the future because they were able to reconnect, and because they reconnected, because of Desmond Hume, basically. Like all roads lead to Desmond Hume, is in
Right.
my mind.
I just had a thought real quick
Yeah.
to actually just to jump on Lisa's point and just kind of like solidify it. When you said that it looks the waiting room looked the way it looked because based on Jack and who he knew. Penny and Desmond had a son, and obviously they had a life with the son.
Oh,
He
that's right.
wasn't
And
there.
he wasn't there.
You're right.
So that
Yeah.
goes just to like
Charlie.
give Charlie
Mm.
just
Yeah,
to give Lisa's point more validity.
validation.
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
Like
Yeah.
so
But going back even to Desmond, so let's assume that the sideways Desmond was there because Jack knew him. So if we're under the assumption that the place was created so that they could all find one another, then it explains how Desmond would be on the plane, because this is now Jack's new reality. It doesn't explain how Desmond still has those blurred lines, because in the Flash sideways, he's like, "No, I have to go round the whole group up." And on Island, he's like, "Hey, Jack, there's another place we can go after this. It's cool. Don't worry. You can die. It's fine." But before that, when Desmond still doesn't understand and he's buying the ring for Penny, and Eloise is like, "No, no, 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 it's not supposed to happen." Like, I forgot what episode that was, but she's like, "It's not supposed, no, that's not how it's supposed to, no." And
Yeah.
even in the Flash sideways, once he starts to realize and remember, she's the one who's like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
slow your roll, buddy." Like,
I
And
think
look,
she was afraid that she was taking Daniel with. I think she was
of
afraid, like,
course.
and I think she's like,
Yeah.
once he starts, she's taking Daniel. And I think once he
Yeah.
said he's like, not with me. And
She's
like,
like, "All right,
okay.
boo. Peace out." Yeah.
I think
right.
that's why she
But
was like, no,
but
no,
the
no.
point, for me, the point is that she sees both sides,
And so does
both
Desmond.
worlds, and but
Yeah.
so does Desmond, and they've helped each other, but she has the ability too. So that part has always fascinated me, and I can't quite put my finger on.
Yeah, you and I are definitely, because that's what I was basically trying to say with the three of them are able to see the future and essentially have this connection through worlds. Because even you're right in LAX Part One, Desmond does just show up on the plane with Jack, but he pops in and out, and he is almost as omniscient as Eloise. Once he clicks in 100%.
Percent.
Yeah, he's locked in 100%, but he knows that he can't go alone because it's almost as if his sole purpose was to get these people together. I mean, he was in the hatch for 3 years just pushing that button, and the whole plane crashed because he didn't.
Right.
Like, he is the beginning and the end. He is the alpha omega. It's kind of what I believe. I believe that Desmond was the reason that all of this happened and also the reason that all of it was able to end and they were able to move on. But to your point, Lisa, I do 100% agree that even though Desmond is like this, and Eloise and possibly Daniel are like magical entities, possibly, or have something else going on that's not really addressed. I think it's not addressed because as a writer, that's once you define that, it's really hard and there's a lot of
You
rules and you got to think
lose
about it.
you
Yeah,
lose the magic
yeah.
behind it.
And also, since it's from Jack's perspective, Jack isn't introspective like that. He wouldn't care. He wouldn't care to think beyond
I
that.
think that's the better point.
And also, that's another reason because some people are like, why did Locke never tell Jack, a spinal surgeon, that, hey, I was paralyzed and now I can walk? And I think it's because Locke was like, I can't give him facts. That's not enough. So if Desmond went to Jack and was like, hey, dude, I literally see the future, it would have been, so how he operates. And it was so that was great for the writers because then they could be like, hey, this guy just has no interest in some of these things. So we don't need to delve too deep. And B, if we define it too much, that could be up in arms. But yeah, I agree. Elvis is a very interesting character. I think she's a very interesting character. So I totally
But
agree with you.
to your point about Locke not telling Jack, if I had to guess, I don't know if it's because Locke can't give him facts or because to Locke the island was enough of an answer
Mm,
that none of it
Nothing else
mattered.
mattered.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he was the man of faith.
So speaking of Locke, I know Melissa has a point of view on something. Can't wait to hear it because it was really bothering me. Well, actually, it's bothering
Oh,
Lisa, I think. As to you had a thought of why the Man in Black stayed as Locke.
Oh,
yes.
right.
So
Yeah.
I forget exactly which episode it is, but when Alana tells Jack and Hurley that they're candidates and they're there with Sun and Ben and the rest of the gang,
Mm-hmm.
Jack does say like, "Hey, like he looks like Locke now, but if he can change into anything, like what are we searching for? Like what are we hunting for basically?" And Alana was like, "No, now that Jacob is dead, he's stuck that way."
Oh,
Right.
that's
So,
right.
yeah,
Right.
and
That's right. I forgot about that
I
part.
forgot
yeah.
all about that.
And it's because I think that their supernatural abilities, since they're twins, are connected. So essentially, like, hey, you killed your brother, well, now you're locked in like this. And Desmond being the secret weapon and taking out the light, which I think was a little hokey, maybe. Maybe production level wasn't the best. But
Because it was literally a cork.
yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. But I mean, all that had to happen, and I think that that's, you know, when you're getting towards the end of the story, you have to break down the magic somehow, you know, because it's not interesting if they're immortal and nothing can take them down. Cause then it's like, well, literally no
What's
one
the
will ever
point?
win. Yeah. What's the point? So you had to have these different people with different abilities in different parts in the story, you know, because even I had never thought about it, Lisa, until you had mentioned it when Kate said thank you to Charlie, but it was about, sacrificing himself there in the I forget what that one was called. When he drowned, not Penny's boat,
Looking Glass.
The Looking Glass. So yeah, I mean, that was one step to the ladder. So even though Desmond had said, "Hey, I see Claire getting on a helicopter," and she didn't technically get on the next helicopter that we as viewers saw, she did get on a plane. And Aaron did get on a helicopter, and they both were safe and off the island. And that couldn't have begun until Charlie, drowned, and
Right.
so. But yeah. So I mean, it's just all connected, and you can find all different connections. And yeah, but Eloise is really, it's something to ponder, and I kind of like that they left stuff like that open.
I just feel like she's such a oh, like she doesn't get enough fanfare, because she really does pull the strings in the storyline, and I feel like she gets overlooked a lot. Like her role in things gets overlooked a lot.
I wonder though,
that's a good
if
point.
she got more, would she be as interesting to us?
Well, no, let me.
I mean, it's not really to be answered. I'm just
No,
wondering,
no.
like,
But I mean it like she gets overlooked. I feel not in Lost writing and shooting and filming, because I think that that's part of the brilliance and the mystery is keeping her kind of
a mystery.
sprinkle here and a sprinkle there. But when
Hawkeye.
the show is spoken about and
She gets forgotten about.
I think that people don't talk about her enough and her role in moving Desmond along and the
Just
strings.
another example of ageism and misogyny happening in
Yeah.
the world. She gets, like, the old lady gets forgotten about, and that's the one that you need to watch out for, whether good or bad. Those are the dangerous ones.
Have you watched The New Man in Charge?
Yes, I have seen the epilogue. I've seen it once or twice, like 100 years ago. Have you ladies seen it?
We did. So we
Okay.
did see it, and we actually recorded our episode
okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
So it just hasn't come
Okay.
out yet. It's not edited yet.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
did watch it and record. But I have a question, because this
Oh.
was the first time for me also seeing that. I had never seen
Oh,
it
okay.
before. And then
Okay.
I didn't even realize that that was a thing until Agnes and I started this podcast. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to watch it until
Till the
we
end.
get there, and we'll
Okay,
do
cool,
it
yeah.
together. Ben says that the Dharma drops have been coming from the lamppost station, which has been unmanned for 20 years. I had an issue with this, because I'm like, but Eloise knows
Such
about
an
the
issue.
lamppost station. Oh, we had like this big issue.
You
So-
had the issue, but I think I worked it out.
I had an issue because Eloise knows about the lamppost station. That's where they had the big pendulum, where
Yeah.
like, let's determine the window that we can get back to the island, where it's going to be, how we get there. So my issue was the lamppost is connected to Dharma. I get that, because all the stations were Dharma.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have an issue with Eloise knowing, because as we know, she's a little bit more mystical and she knows things that the others don't.
Mm-hmm.
The issue for me was like, but if the drops were coming, and I worked out a theory on my own, but
Yes,
if
it's a
the
good
drops
theory.
were still coming from the lamppost and the lamppost was unarmed, why? If Eloise knew that this station existed, she obviously was very comfortable there, as the way she was zipping around. And I
Yeah.
said that she was like Garcia on Criminal Minds, like
Yeah.
just doing her thing there.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't she have stopped the drops? Or why was it unmanned? So like that, I came up with a theory, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I mean, I will tell
Okay.
you if you want to know. Like, I won't say like,
Oh
you
no, I
have to
like
wait
to
for the
keep the.
episode.
No.
But
She's like, I want to wait to listen.
No,
I
but
do
I
like
just-
to. I do want to listen.
okay. But I just want to hear, if you had to come up with a theory, how would you kind of wrap that up in a nice little shiny Dharma bow.
I mean, I think,
With an
well, because
Apollo bar.
with an
Yes.
Apollo bar, because the drops were going to the island, weren't they? I
Mhm.
mean, she knew people
For
were
20
there.
years.
Yeah, she knew people did exist there. Um, and I mean, at one point, the 815 survivors used some of those rations. So it was maybe one of those things where she's like, uh, that's minute paperwork and I don't care. And also, maybe I don't want to make a fuss.
She
You know what I'm
wanted to
saying?
paperwork.
Yeah, she's
I
like, I don't
love
want to
it.
do paperwork. I don't want to make a fuss about it. It's going, who cares? I'm not paying for it. That's what I would think. If I was not paying for it, I would not do the paperwork personally. Um, just but I mean, yeah, the epilogue, that part of it, I didn't think too deep on it. It was just like kind of like an info dump for me. The only part that I cared about and the only part that really stuck with me was, thank God they gave Walt something, and that they were able to tell Walt, oh, because like talk about a gut punch when they told Walt, like, hey, you want to help your father. Oh, this poor little
Yeah.
boy. He probably had all this guilt about, at one point, maybe being afraid of his father. And at one point, like, my father committed these murders just for me. And then the guilt about that. And then being alone. And then this crazy island thing happened. And my life is a shit show. So I was so glad that they got this poor young gentleman that had essentially had half of his life tormented by this island and all these people, to finally be like, hey, dude, like, we're going to take you to this island and it's going to be good this time. And you're going to be in charge and you're going to maybe help your dad heal. And maybe then, who knows, maybe he could move on. Although he's one of the whispers. But yeah, I mean, I thought that that was, or at least Walt could spend the rest of his life doing good for others and his life could have a purpose.
Right.
Because I mean, I don't know if you guys read the book Burn It Down or are aware of any of the writer's room stuff,
No,
but
not really.
I don't want to get too deep into it. But apparently, there was like a lot of racism,
Oh,
spoiler
yeah,
alert,
yeah, yeah.
and sexism in the writer's room. So that was because, I mean, Harold Perrineau, like, oh my God, when I knew that he was on the show, like, what a get. Like, this man, talk about great
Mhm.
actors.
Mm-hmm.
And young Walt, who knows what he could have been? They didn't really give him a chance. Um, so I really was, I mean, more upset with Walt and Michael, that ball being dropped, than I was about Shannon. I'm really upset about dropping the ball on Shannon. So I was glad that at the epilogue they were at least like, okay, let's give this character some hope. Um, and the poor guy, just poor Walt just being left alone all the time. And so I was happy that he got, and also of all the people to hang out with, Hurley, like, what a cool dude. Hurley is unanimously, because I will say, when I first saw it the very first time, when Hurley was ultimately made the protector, I was like, yeah, I was like,
That fits. That
that
totally
tracks.
fits.
Because obviously Jack had to get us there and be the burly dude and yada yada. But I was like, all right, dude, like, great having you, white guy, but we can see you later. So Hurley, I mean, and also I had heard someone come up with this thought. I don't know if it was you guys, maybe it was, but that when they do get on Ajira and they know it's gonna crash, Hurley buys all those tickets.
So
And
no
I
one
think
else could
I think
die.
Ashley
so
said that.
as you said, I mean, the fewest amount of people could die. And I was like, you're right. These other people are rich as shit too, and they didn't think about it. And Ben literally, because Jack is like, once Jack's on the plane, he's like, oh wait, holy shit. And Ben's like, who the hell cares? Hurley was literally the only one that was like, and he was constantly giving away his fortune. It meant nothing to him, and it only meant he only cared about someone's true self. And
He was meant to
yeah,
be a savior. Oh my
yeah,
God. I didn't even think
yeah,
about that. I didn't know Hurley was
yeah.
such a good guy. But
Yeah.
you brought it home. Oh.
But he was always, yeah, yeah. And that's why he's one of my husband's favorites. Also, my husband's Mexican American and so is Hurley. So he's like,
So there's
you know,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I thought that made perfect sense. Because Hurley was like the only 100% pure one. And even in that little cartoon skit that we saw, they were like, Hurley, you're perfect. In fact, can I get a hug? I mean,
Yeah,
that's so
right.
true. That's so true. That's so true. Even Charlie, who was like, oh man, a character with a lot of pitfalls. Even Hurley like saw the good in Charlie, and Saeed, who was literally a mass murderer, and a torturer. So
Right.
Everyone
yeah,
loves Hurley. And
Yes,
pun intended.
Pun
yeah.
intended.
Do you know? Okay, so the one person I was kind of sad not to see was Echo, Mr. Echo.
Yes, yes.
I was just like, wait, they
Yeah.
missed that one. I'm sure there was behind the scenes reasons, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
They should have worked it
Yeah.
out and find a way to get Mr. Echo. Because this, I think, to have such a spiritual ending and
Yeah.
not have
Yeah.
Echo a part of that,
hmm
Yeah.
dude. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Yeah. No.
Every time I hit the table, she's like, "Stop hitting stuff." I have to sit on my hands now. I think that was a huge missed opportunity, and I need to.
Yeah.
They need to go back and redo the last episode with Echo
Okay.
20 years later.
I don't know. They can just like CGI him in there.
Okay,
Oh yeah. I guess with AI now they could maybe.
they can
I
do
don't know.
anything they want.
Yeah. But then they wouldn't be paying him, I guess, so that wouldn't be good. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, his
yeah,
likeness, they still have to pay him. I think
his yeah.
I think
Oh
you
well,
should.
no. Yeah, of course. I think they should. I was seeing if they did AI, sometimes they could be like, "Oh, it's an AI image. We don't gotta pay you."
Good
So I was like,
point.
"Not." I was like, "No." I was
Well,
like,
but I
maybe.
wonder
Yeah.
how does that work? Because in some episodes, they reuse footage from earlier episodes.
They gotta give you a cut for
You
that.
do get something for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But do
think.
they have
Yeah.
right?
I don't know.
They have to give you something, but do they have to ask your permission?
No.
Oh, I don't think so. No, I think once
So
it's
Once
yeah,
because
so
it
then
belongs
maybe
to the
that's
studio. It like
so
you
then maybe
tape
that's
this.
the loophole. Just cut him out,
yeah.
paste
Well, I
him
would have
in,
preferred
and
if
say,
they
"Here's your check."
I would have preferred if they had Walt there in the church with them. Honestly,
Yeah.
I get if they were like, let's keep Michael as part of the Echoes and torture poor goddamn Michael Dawson, forever and ever and ever. I think at some point he should have been able to be forgiven. Even Hugo forgave him. But anyway, but I would have preferred if they had Walt in the church than
Mhm.
Echo. But I do get what you're saying. But
He should have
I
been there
would,
somehow. I don't know.
yeah,
On the island.
yeah.
I don't know how. I don't care how. I just
Or I
he
mean,
was
or Locke should have, because he and Locke had a really interesting dynamic. So I think even Locke should have been like, you know,
Right.
Mr. Echo passed on with his brother, because I think whatever episode Echo died on, at the end of the episode, there's a flash with him and his brother going off into the sunset.
Yes.
And as a fan, I believe that he just passed on with his brother, which was the more important person to him than anyone on
That
the island.
that's a good way to
Yeah.
look at it,
That's
though.
what I
Oh,
try to
that's so
believe.
beautiful. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
But
The only other person that I would have put at the church is Ana Lucia.
But she wasn't ready yet.
I mean, I think it would have been
That's
cool if she
true.
was there, but I could also see how she wouldn't, because she was still grieving the loss of her child when she died.
Right.
She had not even begun to unpack that. So,
Yeah, that's a
could
good point.
I could see how maybe she and Ben, because it makes perfect sense that Ben needed another minute. I'd be like,
Well,
Ben,
it's time.
but
yeah,
but
we
even if
we
she
need to roast
was
you a little bit longer.
present, even if she was present at the finale in more capacity than just unlocking
The
the
door.
van,
Yeah,
the
if
police
maybe
van.
she was cognizant and agreeing to stay like Ben and agreeing to work on herself. Yeah, I could see that. I think I don't know why. I feel like at the time people really didn't care for Ana Lucia. I thought she was very interesting. I
I
thought she
loved
was very sexy too. I mean, my God.
as you
Keep her on
as
the
you already
screen.
know,
Yeah.
I've already had a girl crush on her from Fast
I
and
mean, my
Furious, so she
God.
can
Yeah.
do no wrong.
And those low rise jeans. Oh, girl. Yeah.
Listen,
I mean,
early 2000s
That
was
was the
something
style.
else.
All
yeah,
those
yeah. It
whale
was,
tails.
yes, it was. Oh my God. I know. Yeah. But yeah, Michelle Rodriguez was made for a pair of low rise jeans. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think,
the early Ana Lucia episodes, I do not like the character of Ana Lucia.
mhm.
But just the same way, it's like, oh, same as Shannon. You watch
Yeah.
their character development. So by the time they're taken from us, it's like, oh my
Are
God.
you kidding me?
It's like we were, and also both those women were about to start healing.
Exactly.
Both those women were finally like, wow, I need, hello. So that's the other thing, is like they were cut short on their healing journey. So, because I don't know, have you ladies seen the documentary? 'Cause there's a Lost documentary.
I have not
Please don't
seen
tell
it
her
yet.
that.
I was reading
Yeah,
so
sorry.
I already knew. Um, but I was reading, I was down like a Reddit rabbit hole about it,
Yeah.
and I saw a lot of people saying that they were not pleased by it because it's less character and story and more fan
Yeah. Yeah.
um
It's more
um
like it is more about showing the different fans and the different fandoms
mhm,
in the podcast versus sitting down with the actors and saying, "Tell me all about,
right.
this doing this scene."
Did
They
you
Yeah.
do
see it?
have I did,
Okay.
I because they came here to Houston,
Oh,
so I
okay.
saw it with I have a lost spoiler alert, I have a losty friend, so we went to see it together. But, I will definitely agree with that, it was very fan heavy, and that was kinda cool with me, because I think that there is enough out there that if you do wanna search and find out what Matthew and also Matthew Fox wasn't part of it, so if you wanna find out what he thought about the show, you have to go search
Right.
it on YouTube anyway. Um, but I will say, I mean, I don't know if you guys want a spoiler from it. I don't know if you have any interest in watching it. Um, but yeah, okay, yeah, Agnes is like no, but because they did have Evangeline Lilly, they did have Kate there, and they did also have Sawyer. I will
Mhm.
say, if you Sawyer just alone to see the things that he says, and Terry O'Quinn didn't age a day. This man looks the same.
He looks amazing, yeah.
It was shocking. This man is
I love him.
he's bathing in baby blood. I don't know what he's doing, but they did
Oh,
have
you know those
Evangeline.
Democrats.
I know, yeah, but
Is it time for mine yet?
yeah,
Is it
but
time for my feeding?
yeah, they did have Evangeline Lilly talk about her character Kate, and she did say something along very close to what you're saying. Both, I think, all of us are saying that at first my character was really interesting, and then they just put me in this love triangle. And she did state in the documentary that there was a time where she was like, "I want off the show because you're just putting me in this love triangle. My character's doing nothing. Like, what's the point?" But I guess then that would have been literally every woman off the show because it would have just had her. It was her and Son they barely had in the show.
Yeah.
So I can only presume that's why they did have her take Aaron, because then they could have Kate have another storyline. And I do think that that's very interesting. And I do think that her literally being there when Claire gives birth, and then also her raising Aaron for the first 3 or 4 years of his life uh, is pretty impactful. But I did think that that was interesting that Kate Evangeline Lilly was like, "Dudes, I'm done making out with these two hot guys. Can we please give me
Could you imagine how
anything else?"
tough your job must
And I
be if you're
still
like, I'm
feel like
so
this,
tired of making out
yeah,
with the hot guys. Like,
yeah,
and I
please.
feel like the whole Aaron thing was a side note. They're like, okay, fine, let's give her
it was,
something.
yeah, yeah.
And other than Juliet,
I think
there
Juliet was
was
probably
the
the most
only
well-rounded. Yeah, yeah,
female
the
character, the only one.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
a
And the
little
women had
disappointed at
a lot of potential. I mean,
and they didn't do anything
take
with them.
take Kate,
Yeah.
a fugitive, on the run,
So
caught.
much potential with this one.
She blew up her father, estranged from her mother,
Stepfather?
her father.
Her
It was
father,
her
okay.
biological father,
It,
yeah.
couldn't
it was her
remember.
stepfather, but then she came to find out that it was her
It was
father.
actually stepfather. Right, right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
But she had the guy who she thought was her father. She had a relationship with him. So there
Mhm.
were all these pieces, all these threads that they could have more on. And then it's like, oh, but let's show her get married to a cop and grocery
Mm,
shopping, and then like that was stupid. I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't stupid, but it was stupid because when you had all of this to go with and you spent time on that, and she knew Cassidy, so
Mhm. Yeah,
those were more interesting stories to me.
yeah.
You had Son, who honestly had the potential to be even more interesting than Kate, because you had
Mhm.
her parents, you had, even though it's Jen, but you had the dynamic between his estrangement from his family because of his shame, and the father and the fisherman, and the mother was a prostitute, and then how Son's father treated him, and then they had a baby. So, and the whole thing that she had the affair, and then she was going to
Uh,
leave him. She hid the fact that she spoke English. So you had all of these threads with her too that were potentially like really, really interesting.
And they almost had it when she came back, when they were saved and she came back and she was like a real like business badass. I was like,
Yes.
oh, here we
They
go. And then it was
yes.
dropped. I was
And
like,
and in
yeah.
fairness, I think they did do more with the Sun character than the Kate character,
yes.
but it
Yes.
still
Yeah.
left you feeling like, but she could be so
She
much
was so
more.
badass. And then she's
Claire,
like,
I
okay,
feel
I'm
like
gonna leave my kid for find my husband. Once
they
again, I'm
totally
like,
dropped the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah.
Like I
yeah.
think of Claire, and all I could think of is like her eating fake peanut butter with Charlie and my
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Well,
but there could have been. I don't
because
know what more, but there could have been more. And Maggie Grace, Shannon, it's like,
yeah.
okay, you just started to come into your own. I mean, you have the stepbrother issue, the daddy issue, the stepmommy issue,
Yeah.
and then boom, you're gone.
You're just on the verge of not becoming a total bitch, a total selfish bitch, you know, because you had that great loss. Yeah. She
Right.
hadn't even gotten over her mourning of her stepbro. But I mean, I do think that they really did. But I mean, I know that the writing room and the whole Hollywood Now, and especially then, was a real shit show.
shit show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also think it's like they almost didn't know how to write those characters. There was no president. And even if you think about it, a show like Breaking Bad, where we have Skylar White, who's a very strong female character, she's like hated. Like everyone hates her.
It's like you like her, then you hate her, then you like her, then you hate
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So it's very dynamic. Whereas everyone thinks Bryan Cranston's the shit, although I do too. But anyway,
I was like, but he is.
I'm part of the machine. But I do think that even Libby, where she had known Hurley in the mental institution, and then for whatever reason, whether it's because she had an arrest in Hawaii, or because she wanted to leave the show, or because they were just tired of writing her, they killed her off. And again, they claim that they had more stuff for her too, and that would have been interesting.
I
So
would
it
have loved a
is,
flashback from her perspective,
yeah,
more than just her kind of meeting Desmond in a cafe.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I do love the show for what it is, but there is a part of me that does mourn for what it could have been.
Yeah. And I'm
Because
okay out of all of them, I'm okay with the way they left Libby. I would have loved to have a little bit more Libby,
Mhm.
but I think that the shock of her departure
yeah,
was needed for Hurley, because that propelled his storyline.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Out of all the women who got the shaft when it came to their storylines, I think hers I'm the most okay with.
Mhm.
And maybe Ana Lucia, because her storyline could have been more too, but then it was just repetitive. It was just
They kind of made her they couldn't get her out of the stereotype quite. But I think that's also a little bit of when I think of Michelle Rodriguez, I think of her as having almost that personality, as a real bitch, real abrasive, real like don't fuck with me kind of. And maybe that is just stereotype because she kind of plays a lot of those roles.
right.
Maybe I'm sure I'm not saying she's a horrible person. I'm just saying that she gives me the vibes of like, don't brush up against her in the street, or she'll be like, bitch, what, you know? So don't touch her man. Or her woman, or anybody. Don't touch none of her people. So I do kind of get that. But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest, gosh darn it, I think would probably be like the Walt Michael. Because I think Harold Perrineau is such a great actor. And also a lot of the people that did leave almost asked to leave.
And there was
they
a
were
lack
like,
of women in the writers' room.
oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
I think as far as writing strong female characters that people like, first of all, having a strong female character is hard because even women watching other women,
Yes,
they're like, oh, I don't want to see that. I'm like, ew. Misogyny is okay. Like women show misogyny too. But
yes.
I was looking, just look at the dates. I never watched it, but I remember like the talk and the fans. Everyone loved Katie Sagal and Sons of Anarchy. And I think that was I think that was the beginning of, oh, this women in the writers' room, women showrunners. Hello.
Yes.
Scandal. We have Shonda doing Scandal. I'm like, so you could tell when women start taking a leadership role behind the scenes, because you have all these strong, badass women being liked and looked up to. And it took
You're right.
what, 2008, 2006?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a little I'm ashamed it took this long. And even
Well,
now,
I mean,
2024, you still have that pushback,
of
you know.
course.
But for the
Yeah.
most part,
I mean,
I think it was
and
more
credit where
female
credit
writers,
is
to your
due.
point. It would have been I think it would have been different.
There
Oh,
should have
100%.
been more diversity. There should have been more
Yeah.
women behind the scenes. The women characters should have had stronger storylines than just to be pregnant and be in love triangles or
Yeah.
follow the men.
hmm
But what I will say is that as a New Yorker who witnessed shit with my very own two eyes, this show coming not that long after 9/11 and having
Hell yeah.
a brown Middle Eastern main character. I mean, for me, like bleeding
Yeah.
heart liberal, I don't care. But I think to a lot of people, that was probably like, what the fuck? Because
100%.
enemy, 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 like that's like what we were hearing, just
hmm
like nonstop. And yes, obviously there's no denying the truth of what happened on that day, but just like any other tragedy, just because one doesn't mean all bad. But having this Middle Eastern man from Iraq as a main character, I'm sure was very shocking to a lot of people. And then you're like, oh, and he was in the war and he was a torturer. And so like, I feel like all people were like, oh, no, he's just there so we can hate him. But then you love him and
Yeah.
you empathize with him. And it's like, what the fuck are these feelings? Like, what are you doing to me? I want to hate this man.
Even
Yeah.
as the
But
baby daddy looking like, I
mean, not
love
me,
when he
but,
came on.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
love, like,
Yeah.
Saeed,
Yeah.
yay.
but I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like even me watching it was like, oh, that's
And
interesting
and
because
even
that's
the
new.
yeah, and I think that the fact that they even made his character learn how to torture from American soldiers, like he was essentially
Oh, I love
forced to.
that part.
So that because my husband is ex-military, and when he was
Mhm.
watching the show, it was about that. It was about season 3. So I think that's when that episode happened, or maybe it was season 2. But anyway, when he saw that,
It
that
was
was a
either
little.
season 1 or 2.
Yeah, actually, I think it was season 2
Because I
because
think it was season 2 because
he was in the hatch.
he was in the hatch.
Yeah.
Kelvin, something like that.
Yes, Kelvin.
And then he
Yeah.
was with Kate's dad too.
Yes. Oh
So
my
it
God.
was
But
like tying all of those
yeah,
little, yeah.
but the fact that they could be out there essentially, and you're right, so close after 9/11, because I think that there are like a lot of people that are watching this that are younger that don't realize that it's like that was a huge fucking
Huge thing.
deal. Like I think that I mean, as a hairdresser, I get some clients that are younger and they're almost, I mean, they're like, oh, 9/11, COVID, yada yada, my life is torture. I'm like, you don't even I'm like, yeah, I
Know it.
feel you. But I'm like 9/11, you don't even know. Like that was I always tell people I'm like the country was never more united than September 12th. Because I mean
Girl,
it
let me
was
tell you something.
yeah.
On September 11th, I was in the city, I worked in the West Village. There was not
hmm
a fucking car going down the road, which
Yeah.
already was like, there's no traffic on 7th Avenue. Like I worked on 7th Avenue South. I'm like, where are the cars? There were no
hmm
cars. The only cars you
mm
saw go by were emergency vehicles.
hmm
Everyone headed up and out, like away I mean, down Manhattan is not like a very hard map to look at, but it was, the trade centers were downtown. So everyone went up and out, walked over bridges, walked uptown, I mean, you can walk over most of the bridges. George Washington, all the Brooklyn Queens bridges, for the most part, you can walk on them. My husband and I went up to his mom's job. She worked like Midtown, and we just stayed there until we knew what the fuck we were going to do because we were like, we don't know what's going on. We were trying to listen to the radio, figure it out. Like the internet wasn't really like a
hmm
thing back then.
Yeah.
So we had to, be like the Stone Age. You had to turn on the radio and hope that they talked about it. And then finally, like when we got to her job, they had a TV, so we put on the news and we're just like, whatever. And then finally they're like, okay, they're starting to resume train service. And we were like, that's it. We need to get on that train. We left, we got on the train, and you've been to New York, so I'm sure that you can understand. You get on a train, people hog the doors, they don't want to let you in. It's like, you can't even get in or out because people are like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, on that day, I have never seen a train more packed. But not just that, it was like, we don't know when the next train is going to come. And everyone is like, come on, come on, come on. Make room. There's
Yeah.
new people. Make room.
Mm.
And if that is not the essence of fucking New York, I don't know what is. Because the next day they would have been like, fuck you, wait for the next one.
Yeah.
That day it was like, no, they're getting on the train. Everybody is
Yeah.
getting on this fucking train. Like we're getting out of here. And it's like, yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
getting on the train. But you're right, though. I mean, everyone right after that was very unified. Everyone came
Yeah.
together. And it's a shame that we can't be like that more often. But
Without,
mean, yeah.
thousands of
Without-
deaths happening. That
Well,
would be
right.
nice.
That's and I think even COVID shows, I mean, because there were millions of people and there were still people that are like, COVID's not real. You know what I'm saying? And
People were so
yeah.
evil doing COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of people that was like, let's be mindful, but most people really didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have my
So-
theories on why that happened, but we're not going to get into that. We're not a
Oh,
political
we
show.
can't say
Okay,
it's also because of bad leadership.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say that it's
I'm working on jail time here, apparently.
you were getting chilled. But I will say that it is kind of crazy that they had a show with a character like Saeed, I mean, now granted it was his arc towards the end, but I mean, they gave him something, and I feel like they gave him maybe the least out of all the men, because at least at Hurley at the very end, you're like, oh shit, yeah, this makes perfect sense that Hurley's the protector. But I think with the women, almost all of them, they did dirty. And I even think Juliet at the end, but I do get where they were like, just like spoiler alert to Sons of Anarchy fans, at the end of when there's a show for the final season, you might not want the female main character there. That way the male main character can really have some growth. So I do think that's probably why they got rid of Juliet. And also to have this albatross on Jack's neck to be like, oh my God, I killed Juliet for nothing.
And I think that death made sense for the whole, like, it was a pivotal point. So I'm
Yeah.
not really mad at it.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm not
it was-
happy that she died.
I'm not happy that she's died, but it
But
made sense.
I can accept it.
It was
Yes,
important for
for
the
the-
rest of the show, as opposed to just like, I don't know what to do with you, or goodbye, or here's a side note writing for you. Like Juliet, even in her death scene, thankfully was giving something important to do. Thank God.
Yes.
Give
yes.
one woman an
yes.
important role. Bottom
Yes,
line.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, I
But I
mean,
love that her character was not dependent on another, and especially not a man.
Yeah.
She was dependent
Yes.
on.
Right. I
Yeah.
feel like she always held her own, whether it was with Ben or Kate or Jack or Sawyer or, just whoever. Like, she just was Juliet, and her relationship depended on who she was with, but she was still always on her own 2 feet.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of the other characters didn't get as much of that. And like, especially
100%.
when you go back to Kate, it's like, my God, Kate's whole story was like, is she going
Which-
after Jack? Is she chasing after Sawyer? Is she pretending to be Aaron's mom? It was always contingent on another character.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And even
tr-
even Sun was kind of pigeonholed like that because
Mhm.
many of her flashbacks were shared with Jin.
Yeah.
And then it was always like her relationship to her father or her husband. And it's like,
hmm Or her affair partner. Yeah. It was never.
right.
Yeah. And even with her being a candidate it wasn't son Quan, it was just
It was
Quan.
Quan.
So I believe that they were even
Seen as one.
seen as one entity. So now
And he touched
granted,
them both at the wedding.
yes,
So
yes, at the
that
same
wasn't
time.
even a clue.
Yeah. So now I will say that does also kind of Jin didn't have that much. So he was almost a stereotypical, Akuza, Asian gangster dude. But he did at least have, I think when he got to be in the 70s away from Sun, granted, obviously once he found out she was there, he's like, holy shit, we got to get to her. But I mean, I thought he did get a good arc, but they never really gave that. Sun was only full of vengeance.
Right. It's
And the
like
fact
their
that,
arc
yeah,
is their arc.
yes,
It's
yes,
it's together.
Well,
yeah,
you know what?
yeah,
I don't mind that so much. If you go in with the intention from the beginning is that they are one. I don't think she was a side note just because she's a woman. I think everything their intention was to be as one, was written
Okay.
as a continuing
okay, yeah.
arc together. That's so much I don't mind
I'll
so
go by
much.
that.
I can agree with that. Yeah. And honestly, I think you're probably pretty right. Yeah. So
I got one right. Woohoo!
yeah.
I mean, yeah, because right, like at the beginning of the show, she's ready to leave him.
Mhm.
She doesn't even tell him that she speaks English,
I
and
know.
he's not
So,
like abusive, but he's very closed off to
He's
her.
not the same person he was when she married him. Her father
yeah.
changed him. And you kind of forgive him for being who he is because
He was doing it
influenced, doing it for her
to be with
getting
her.
in, right. And then look at what happened. But the moment he was away from that life and he was
Mhm.
able to like, wait, I gotta come back.
Yeah.
He came
Yes.
back to who he was. So,
Yes.
so yeah. And I think their growth together was a very beautiful thing. And I think that's why they both were candidates, Quan,
Okay.
because they couldn't do it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody does it alone.
No one does it alone. But
Yeah.
they were just like,
They really couldn't do it alone. They were the ultimate codependent. Yeah.
legit.
Yeah.
They would die together. Like,
I know the ultimate. I mean, talk about ride or die. I will literally. I'm going down with you 100%, bitch. Yeah, it's
and
happening.
but back
Agnes,
to the
I
question:
love
do I
you.
have to die? And can we go get some food?
But if
Like,
you
I
were
mean,
stuck
exactly.
under that railing, I'm sorry, but I'm not
bitch,
staying.
go watch my babies. I would sit
Yeah,
like
I'm not staying. I'm
I
sorry.
would actually be pissed if a loved one of mine, if I'm stuck there, and if one of my loved ones was with me, my bestie, or of a significant other. I have a daughter and grandchildren.
Go. Yeah.
Fuck me. I'm dying. There's nothing I can do dying. Take care of my family. What the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
And I swear to God, I will haunt you until the day
Yeah.
I will haunt you in the afterlife if you don't do what I say. I will
I tell
come
my
back.
kids, like, I mean, it's a little bit different, obviously, like, not in a situation where they're
Someone
not
has to
dying with
babysit
me.
your husband too. You know what I mean?
But-
So, so you need
But
somebody
I
to watch it.
say that, and I tell this to whoever, especially my kids, but your life is your life. And if I die, because again, I haven't decided if I'm going to yet, but if I do, don't stop your life for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't get that back and I'll still be dead. Don't cut a trip short. Don't stop your education. Whatever it is, I'm dead. I don't care. Like,
Yeah. Move. Yeah.
you have to still live your life. Don't stop for me. I'll be dead. I'll still be dead.
I'm not
Please.
going anywhere.
I'll haunt you if you do.
Yeah.
Facts.
That's why I do agree with you, ladies, and that's why the only person that I think that if I was caught, I mean, we don't even have children. I would still tell my husband, go. I mean, he does have dreams
you
of
have a cat.
Beyonce one day, so who knows? Maybe he'll meet Beyonce.
There you go.
One could only hope he could have a second love. But if it was my mother and she was not caught, and I would feel bad not to be like, oh, my mother's life only has meaning because of me, but I would maybe want my mom. I gotta be honest. I'd be like, oh, mommy, just stay at least until
Stay with
Yeah.
me, mommy. Yeah.
yeah, I might be like, stay with me, mommy. But but I think with pretty much everyone, I would be like, "Go on." And my mom does like to ride motorcycles, so I'd be like, "Go ride your motorcycle, ma." But
Yeah, the thought of
give me a
dying
little,
alone is scary. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah. But I do see with the whole kid thing, and it does make sense. I mean, go, even though he had never met her, she was still young.
She was
I
still
mean,
young, yeah.
I don't remember
You
the
heard my yeah.
the
You don't
oldest
have
this baby
memories
could
at
have
that
been
age.
would have been 4, and
Right.
I remember being hospitalized for an asthma attack at that age, but that was a traumatic event. So she might remember, oh, my mommy was here, and then she wasn't, but she wouldn't. I mean, she had no visual perception of her mother passing away.
Yeah, from a psychological standpoint, you could have showed your kid pictures and been
Yeah,
like, "Oh, look, and this is you and your dad at Disney." And in 5 years, when you ask your kid something, they'll be like, "Yeah, no. When I went to Disney with my dad." You can manufacture memories.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying let's do that. I am
But
saying it's possible
well, yeah. I mean,
because when my kids
in
were
theory,
little,
yeah.
I wanted to take pictures and be like, "Look, this is from when we went to Disney," so that they thought I was a better parent and not one that couldn't afford to take them to Disney. So I didn't do that, but I
I
could
just
Yeah.
have.
think there was a lot of options for I mean, yes, they had to go together,
I
but like
mean,
it's
it definitely gave like pulled it out of me. That's I will say, no matter how many times I watched that episode, Juliet's death, or in the episode What Kate Does, when Kate follows Sawyer out to the end of the dock and Sawyer is crying and he's like, Juliet's not dead because of you, or Jack, Juliet's dead because of me. Oh,
Yeah,
that when
yeah.
Sawyer, because I'm a big fan of that ship of Sawyer and Juliet.
Hmm.
And
They're
Elizabeth,
really good together.
yeah, but Elizabeth Mitchell said, who plays Juliet, she said that they were both really nervous because they were like, "Oh shit, we haven't even played it as if we have any interest in each other." And she had said the only reason it works is because Josh Holloway is such a good actor. She's like, I was able to act off of him. She's like, but he brought it every single time. And she said apparently most certainly in the death episode, she's like, he cried every
Oh
single
wow.
time. And she's like, this man had endless tears. And I was like, damn. So
he
with every,
also looks just as sexy, if not
I
sexier
mean,
in 2024. I'm
I
like,
mean, my,
ugh,
that's why I'm telling you, that's why you
can't
should watch
stand
the
it.
documentary, because he's
Sold.
got a cowboy hat. He looks great.
Yeah, I've seen
Oh
the
god.
stills. I've seen
Yeah,
the stills.
I
yeah.
was
And
watching there was something on YouTube, like I was looking for those links and it was like, oh, the cast then and now. And it was
yeah,
like just pictures.
yeah.
And then of them like 20 years later, I'm like, oh.
He stole
You
it.
were real
Yeah.
hard up for Jack, right?
Oh, me. Oh,
Sorry, I
yeah.
have to leave now.
Yeah.
I have to go walk my cat.
Yeah.
Has to go find new friends.
Yeah. Oh,
I would
yeah.
like find them with like polar bear food. Like
Yeah. Yeah, fish biscuit on you.
yes.
No, I think,
Oh,
and I think Agnes and I have discussed this, but like the relationship of Sawyer and Juliet definitely worked because Sawyer wasn't a character that pandered,
yeah,
and neither was Juliet. Juliet
exactly.
was Juliet. She held her own. She, whatever your energy was, she matched it. And
Yeah,
for a character like Sawyer, who was very like, I'll protect you. I'm just not going to tell you that I'm going to do it. I'm just going to
yeah,
handle my business. They worked because
yeah,
neither of them were needy. Whereas Jack,
But they were both very giving towards the one that they loved. So it
yes.
worked
Yes.
perfectly.
Mhm.
yes,
Whereas
yes,
Jack and Kate should have been a couple that worked because Kate did need a little bit of hand holding sometimes, even though she pretended like she didn't.
But so did Jack.
yes,
But
exactly. Yeah.
Jack couldn't let shit go. So then
She could never be independent. Really.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as we've seen in the scene where she went to meet, well, you don't know it at the time, but she went to meet Cassidy, and Jack is like, "But where were you? And why was there a babysitter? And what were you doing?"
Yeah.
It's like,
Child.
shut the fuck up. Like, my
Someone
God.
give him an Ativan, like quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because it's not even like do you think I'm cheating? Like, what is it? Like, what is
He
your
just
major?
needs to
He just
be
needs to be in every. You can't have a single thought.
serious FOMO.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The
Can't
ultimate
take a
FOMO.
shit without him wanting to know.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
The other episode that gets me is Greatest Hits.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
not a huge like Charlie fan. I mean, in the course of the characters, he's
Oh.
fine. He's there. He's no dislike,
Mhm.
but he's just
Yeah.
there. But that episode, oh my
I
goodness.
remember your reaction to that
Yeah.
one.
I think it also hits better or hits deeper the second time around because then because the first time you watch it, you're like, oh, he thinks this is his last time speaking with Claire, and essentially he basically made a nuclear family on the island, essentially. So he's like basically leaving his wife and child from his
In my
perspective.
mind.
Yeah. Even though every now and then she'd been like, pump the brakes, dude. Like,
Yeah.
this is still my child. Shut the fuck up. It's just so funny when he's like, you woke the baby. And I feel like, that's her baby. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. But I was like, she can take that baby joyriding. But anyway,
But it was so sweet, like watching it. You're like,
yeah. And then when
oh.
he leaves the ring, and then you know that she never ever finds that ring. And then even
I
later
forget
when
who
she
finds it.
it's Sun
Sun,
finds
right?
it.
Okay.
And then she flashes back to remembering when she and Jen got married and they were exchanging rings.
Okay.
But I mean, Claire essentially becomes Rousseau 2.0 and
Mhm.
loses her man almost the same way as Rousseau had lost her man. Well, I mean, Rousseau had killed her man, but
But she
her man
wasn't
had,
like she wasn't in her right mind. I mean, no, well, she
yeah,
had to.
yeah, and he had been taken by the island. He was infected, so
Yeah.
Right.
basically Charlie sacrificed himself, and it was one of those things that it took a while for Claire to reap those benefits. But I would agree it is sad. And also I think his might be the most selfless um
Yeah.
death.
Because it was
Yeah.
intentional. Like he knew what he
It
was
was
doing. It
yeah.
was a conscious decision for him to
Yes.
save the day, not save the day,
Mhm.
but to put
Yeah.
people in a position to be saved. It was, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I
And
can't.
even when Desmond was like, "Hey, I can do it," and he's like, "Yeah, whatever, Desmond," and then he knocks Desmond out. Although honestly, for me, whenever someone does that, I'm like, "What if you do it too hard and you kill your buddy? You're just trying to knock your buddy out, and then he doesn't even know." But anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's really But I was definitely that final. I think that might be my favorite finale was Through the Looking Glass, where it's Charlie and he drowns, and then at the end where you're like, we got to go back. I mean, talk about a mind
A mind
fuck.
fuck?
Complete mindfuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Agnes
mean,
was like, wait, I like this now.
yeah,
I think
yes,
that's why I was just
exactly.
like, oh, wait,
He's
hold
like,
up.
maybe I will come back. Yeah, but
And I came
yeah,
back 2 years later.
yes, you're like, let me put a pause on this, but I will return. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that was very, very interesting and unlike anything I'd seen before. And again, since I didn't own a computer, I know some people had gotten spoiled on that, but I didn't know about that. Or later,
I didn't
they
get yeah.
yeah. But also, honestly, when I did go on the computer, I was just trying to find out what my exes were doing. I wasn't trying to find out, you know, yeah. I was just like stalking my ex's social media. I was definitely not trying to, do any kind of or crochet patterns because I crochet. But
Crochet.
yeah, it's been a minute because now I
I
do.
can't follow a pattern though.
Yeah,
I'm
when
I'm
I do,
I'm
it
bad
comes
at
out
that.
perfect. But I really gotta zone
Mm.
in. Yeah,
My
but
go-to is cross stitching.
oh wow, ooh, that's even harder though. Jeez Louise.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so therapeutic.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah, you just oh yeah, that's a good
just
one too, yeah.
More tasty than yarn.
Yeah.
So when we were recording for Kevin Johnson, I don't know, Agnes, if you remember this,
Probably not.
but I was joking with you and we were calling you Nostradamus.
I
Mhm.
Any of
remember
this
I remember
Okay.
that, but I don't know why.
So, because there was an incident that happened to you in real life where you
Oh,
were
right.
driving. Do you
Yes.
remember?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. Say what it was.
Okay, so I think this is okay, so I'm driving down the street. I'm going to my daughter's house, and it's the accident just happened. The cops hadn't no one has been called. I think they might have been called, but no one was on scene yet. But so I see the woman out on the street. I got the answer for you, by the way, as to why I didn't.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, oh shit. So I kept on passing. And coming home, I knew that happened. So I went another way and the ambulance were there, whatever. So we have a Facebook group that pretty much just, if it's, I guess they read the scanner or whatever and they throw it on Facebook. This accident was never posted. I'm like, okay, let me try the other scanner group. Never posted. And Lisa's like, are you sure it happened? I was like, yeah, there was several cars that went about it, Um, now I remember the situation, but I don't remember why you're making fun of me.
So I was making fun of you because then didn't you say that it happened like in front of a church?
It happened in front of a church. Yes.
So I just thought it was funny because now I could tell you maybe that was your flash sideways because you saw what was going to happen. Because remember, we were joking and we were like, well, maybe it didn't happen yet
happened.
because you didn't find out until later, like what happened. So I was like, maybe because you were like, oh, but the traffic wasn't even like reacting. And I was like, but maybe it didn't happen yet. Maybe it was like
Yeah.
your flash sideways and it happened in front of a
That's
church.
why it flashed sideways. You're so funny. To be honest, now when I came back home, you can see the cops and the things are starting to be blocked off.
Mhm.
Anyway, but apparently those scanner groups don't put everything out there. They don't put down they missed they dropped the ball. They don't always put all this stuff out there.
And I was goofing with you in the episode. And I was
I
like,
remember
oh, it
that.
was a church. And I was like, and it's because it was kind of like reminiscent of the finale. But
of the
obviously you had no
finale.
way of knowing that.
Now
but
I get you making fun of me.
Yeah. I was
But
like, oh, you're
But I
like
know
clairvoyant.
things.
But
I
you know
kn-
things.
I do know, like it's funny. My
You
family,
drink and you know things?
I drink and I know things. Boy, my mother, who was like typical, I'm going to do it my way. No one else's opinion makes a difference. I'm right. We're going to do it this way. Every so often, there'll be, I don't know, a family issue or family problem. And she would ask me, like, what are we doing with it? Like, she would ask, like, is this something we need to worry about? And I'm like, either yes or no. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I've never been wrong. Like, I don't know everything, but once I know something, it's anyway. So that's we come from a long line of witches or bitches or bitches or whatever. It depends how you look at it. So yes, I drink and I know things. And I probably know things because I drink.
So silly. That is honestly,
You got
it
the
was
chills like now when you mentioned the note. I
Yeah.
kind of got the chills. I hate you, Lisa.
it was funny listening to the podcast and how you'd pick up certain things. Like it was pretty early on where you were like the flash sideways. You're like, they're dead. They're dead. And I was like, oh,
But that was
shit.
just so obvious, though.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
obvious. Like everyone had their growth moment, and that like everyone had a chance to fix what they had to do. I'm like, I don't know, dead, purgatory, whatever. This is what that is. I don't know about the island, but someone's fucking dead. It was kind of obvious, though. I think.
Yeah.
That was a big theory for the whole show, though, because honestly,
Yeah.
it made the most sense. If you said, oh, they were dead the whole time, it made sense. Which
It
is
does,
why
but
everybody was.
I
hooked
am
on that
so
theory.
glad I was wrong about the island. I'm glad that they weren't dead the whole time.
Right.
That
Yeah.
made me feel so. I watched the episode right before we can actually record, like, and the whole night I couldn't sleep. I was dreaming about that. Like I was like in and out of consciousness, and
Yeah.
like when I was and I kept thinking about the episode and like how I'm gonna talk to Lisa about it. So the whole night half dreamt about this damn series finale. Fucking Lisa. But at the I'm glad that like Island happened, and I'm like, okay, that kind of just like Tetris, it fell into place.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can sleep now. Like everything is so much better now. I legit have no more questions. Even the other one answered the polar bear. I was like, yes,
I
the
have
damn polar
questions.
bears have been answered.
Yes.
I have questions.
Of course you do, Lisa.
But these are like hypothetical questions.
Of course you do.
And I'm going to ask them. Frank was supposed to be the original pilot.
Right.
What do you think would have happened if he actually did fly the first plane, the A-15?
In my opinion,
Yours and Melissa's.
I don't think he was meant to fly it. I think yes, he was the original. He was supposed to be. He didn't fly it 4 weeks. He wasn't meant to be on that plane at that moment. And to this day, things happen the way they're supposed to happen. So I don't think it could like I can't imagine him even if he was there. There'd be no
Mhm.
like the show would it just wouldn't have happened because it wasn't meant to be. He was meant to be where he was.
What about you? Do you think?
I actually kind of agree with Agnes that whatever happened was what was supposed to happen. Um, and I do think if anything, it would have happened almost the same where the pilot where he didn't die. But also I think because it wasn't at first when Sawyer and Kate are taking over to Hydra Island and they're building that runway. I was like, what the fuck is this even for? And it wasn't until the plane landed that I was like, oh shit. And I realized it was on Hydra Island. I was like, oh my God, talk about the long con. Where
Yeah.
I was like, they were building that. And that's also why I think I mean it was all meant to happen. And not only from a writerly perspective where it's like, oh well, I wrote it, so it was meant to happen that way, but also because they needed to not be able to get off that island. And not only because the plane was so broken, but because they had no pilot. So even if that one, the Beechcraft that had fallen on Boone, if they had a pilot, theoretically they could have fixed that and tried to get off the island
That's
or
a good
tried to
point.
get off. Yeah.
And then having him survive and then watch the finding of the bodies and they're like that's pilot so
Yes.
he never would have seen that and he never would have been on the freight like he never would have been in that
Right.
position to come back to
Yes.
help them like yes
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I feel like I'm somewhere in between. Like, had Frank flown the original plane, I don't think they would have killed him off.
mm,
But I just feel like it wouldn't have made sense for the show. So I think that it's like, yeah, that everything happens for a reason kind of excuse, and
yeah.
oversleeping was the
I mean, if it just is so silly though. But I mean, they could have had, but then again, they could have had a character that was a pilot the whole time. I mean, Jack had taken some pilot lessons, so or piloting lessons. But yeah, it was also just kismet that when they were flying in 316 back to the island, that that was just the added layer of like, oh, of course, Lapidus is flying the plane. Um, but also, I think it was Lapidus was almost a joke that the writers kind of made for themselves that he was indestructible because like even when that submarine door hit him, he didn't die. You
right.
know, and
Right. So
just
I think
all
that if he had flown it, I definitely don't think that he would have died.
exactly.
I don't
Yeah,
think they would have
yeah,
killed him off.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure they would have been like, oh well, Jacob needed him, or the island needed him, or the island wasn't done with him, or whatever. But yeah, but also I think the funniest line in the whole show is when they're burying John Locke, and Ben is giving the eulogy, and Ben is like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry I killed you," and Lapidus is like, "Fucking weirdest funeral I've ever
I've
been
ever been
to."
to.
I was like, "What the hell is?" And I was like, "Lapidus, you are 100%." You know, if Hurley couldn't be the protector, it should have been Lapidus because Lapidus would have been like margarita time, all
Yeah.
this and that. It would have been. He would have been like, "Where are the
There would have
lovely
been a
young ladies?"
Margaritaville on the island.
Yeah, yeah. It would have been kick your feet up. Yeah, that's all be one kumbaya. Yeah. So
I definitely would have visited.
exactly. Yeah,
I
Lapidus'
might have
island.
stayed.
Yeah, that would have been a real fun island and just hilarious. And yeah, oh my gosh. But and plus
Lapidus.
Vincent would still be there. Yeah,
And that is not as dangerous because you don't have the smoke monster anymore trying to kill you.
exactly, 100%. All
Like
you
you
gotta
don't
do is make
have
sure that
all
light
this
stays
shit
on.
happening going on. I feel like
Yeah.
like you have the voices. It's like, okay, fine. Voice number one, step up. How can I help you?
Yeah,
You know, what are we
exactly.
gonna
That's
do to help you move on?
yes,
Voice
yes,
number two.
exactly.
I think I just like my only thing, not question, but what someone needs to do like a YouTube video or a cartoon or something about island life with Hurley and Ben.
Okay.
What they're
There
protecting
must
it.
have been. Yeah.
If only we knew a writer who loves the show.
Oh. Uh-oh. I hear
Oh.
fanfic in the works.
Oh.
Okay,
I
yeah.
get
Oh.
Do you know where we could find one?
Do you know somebody?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a graphic artist, but I think maybe I could come up with something. But
think
yeah,
know
I am
anybody?
also working on another novel.
I
So
might
yeah.
know a graphic artist.
Ooh.
I gotta
Uh-oh.
go through my repertoire.
Spin-off.
Yeah.
You know what? We got a plan. I'm just call me Hannibal. I love when the plan comes together. Okay. I'm sorry. I just had like what I want to see. Here comes Lisa putting you to work. Now you know how I feel every single day. Just putting
Well,
me to
I'm
work.
glad I'm glad she put you to work, honestly.
Oh,
Selfishly, I'm very glad. Yeah.
thank
Oh, I
you.
like I like the fact that you're selfish. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm fine. You're good. It works.
Yeah.
One more question. What do you, hypothetically speaking, what do you think would have happened if they didn't go back?
Mm.
By
You know,
choice.
like they got the freighter blew up, they got off the island, they concocted the
Mhm.
whole story, the Oceanic Six, got off the island, and then it was like, we have to go back. So the Oceanic Six was back in the mainland, and the rest were still on the island or wherever. But what do you
Mhm.
think would have happened if they hadn't gone through the whole thing of the lamppost and the Jira and going back?
I mean, I guess the cycle would have gone on. Because Jacob wasn't murdered until they returned.
Right.
So I guess, and because they needed, that's the whole reason they needed John Locke's body was to manipulate Ben into killing Jacob. Otherwise, he would have had to come up with a different plan.
Right.
So
It was
he might
supposed
have come.
to represent Christian Shepherd.
Yes, yes, yeah. So I mean, if they didn't return, the events wouldn't have happened like they were, obviously. But I think that the Man in Black would have tried to figure out a different way. But I think the cycle would have just gone on, and eventually there would be an end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that this was the end that these writers created. Because just like I'd said earlier, like if you have two, godlike entities that are battling, it's not really that interesting unless you can make them mortal, which is how the whole show ended. You know, so or give them some morality or something. They
Some
have to,
kind of
there,
Achilles heel.
yes, there has to be something. They can't just be impervious. Otherwise, it's like, well, what the hell is the point of this? That
Right.
goes on forever. That's called the Bible, and we can just read that and we're good. But yeah, it's I mean, I think that it would have just been a different protector, and Jacob would have had to. I mean, there were still more names along the compass, and there are still more names on the wall. He could have brought more people. The cycle would have never ended, I guess. But I mean, in the one episode Across the Sea, Mother, her body was physically dying. It looked like she was actually weakening.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess after a millennia or two, it's time to go. So, I mean, I guess someone eventually would have had to been the protector. Uh, but I do think that they would have always been haunted, especially Jack. And it seemed like other people were getting other glimpses. And also Sun would have maybe never rested because the fact that they did, or maybe she would have connected with her child, but I don't know because I think she had a lot of obviously trauma related to the island, and that also is connected to the creation of the child. So maybe should have always had kind of like I want to say like mom PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
where she would have been like maybe unable to connect fully with her child. Because honestly, I think that's a little bit why I'm not sure the writers were thinking that, but I think that's a little bit why Sun was like, oh, a little bit kind of like fuck my kid, because she was like, this kid is just all associated with all this horribleness that happened to me. I need to go and fix this part of me before I can even have a relationship with my child. Like, I
That
don't
makes a
think
lot of
that,
sense, actually.
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't think maybe the writers were cognizant of it, and only women in 2024 can maybe think about that because now we are talking about like the mommy blues and like what it's like to give birth to a child, and then I mean, my God, all the stuff that goes on with a woman's body, my
Even at
lord,
in the best situations and the
yeah,
most
even where,
perfect life, it's still
yeah,
hell on your in your
yeah,
mental and your
yeah,
emotional and your
yeah,
hormonal. It's a hot fucking mess.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I like
but
that idea.
I think that
yeah.
if we
I'm
assume
not
that
mad at
this
her leaving now.
story,
Thank you. You just
Oh,
saved me from being
okay, oh
mad at
my
her.
gosh, yes, okay, yeah. She
if
just
the
needed
story,
therapy, yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah, she needed therapy.
that was her therapy, the island.
Mm,
If the story is the story, and in the sense of like it's not being written, but it is what's happening,
mhm,
I think that I agree that these characters would have been haunted by that knowledge, and one way or another, they would have gotten themselves back. like, would it have happened that they were all on the same flight? Maybe not, maybe, but
Mhm.
I think one way or the other, like the whole thing with the show, right, is like destiny. So I think it was their destiny to find their way back to the island, to find their way all back together. Because even though Jack and Kate and Hurley were candidates, but I
Mhm.
think that it was more than that, because Sawyer and Juliet and Miles, like, there were still
Mm.
characters who were left behind.
Yeah.
So
And
I
that
think
definitely affected Hurley.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that maybe the journey would have taken a little longer, because maybe they would have needed more time had they not been pushed, but I think that they definitely would have found their way back to the island one way or another.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the fate versus free will, I think that their fate
A hun
was to be there.
100%. Yeah.
Free will might have taken them in a
They
different
might
route.
not have. They could have chosen not to come back, but there would have been repercussions. Mental,
That's what you
emotional.
think?
You just said that they would have been haunted by it.
Right, but I
I'm just
said that
agreeing with you. How many times do I agree with her? She wants to fight me.
no,
Yeah.
no, you're not listening. It's different. There's the big idea of fate versus free will. So I think free will would give them the option to get on Ajira 316 or not. But I think
Mhm.
fate would have one way or the other gotten them back to the island. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my answer. So it's a little bit, I hear it as a little bit different than what you just said. Maybe I'm not hearing you properly.
Okay. I forgot what I said already. I honestly
It was similar enough.
I
Okay.
forgot what I said.
It's kinda like sometimes me and my husband will be fighting, and then I realize I'm like, we're both saying the same thing just in totally different ways, and we literally can't and I think that's what you guys just did, where you
We just had a recording
Yesterday.
yesterday, and it was
Yeah.
legit. I'm like, Lisa, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
She's no, but it's different. I'm like,
It's different.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but it was
I
different.
was like, I'm agreeing with you. I'm actually co-signing and giving more examples as to why you're correct.
He's like, you're the only one who I know that gets mad when I agree with you. And I'm like, but it was
Seriously.
different. It was different. I don't remember what it was, but it was different.
You'll find out when you whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know which
I'll listen
episode
to it
comes
later
out.
and I'll let you know, Agnes. Yeah.
She was like, Agnes, you were correct. You were agreeing with her.
I don't know. I'll probably edit it tomorrow.
You can edit the whole thing out.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
No.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I'll see if it makes sense today or tomorrow.
It won't because
It didn't make
you know
sense
what it is?
yesterday.
It will, but she won't admit to it.
No, I'll admit to it.
No, she'll do like some kind of peace offering. I won't admit to it, but
Yeah. But thanks for doing the pod. Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, me, oh my. Are you done badgering us, Mom?
Yeah.
To piss her off, I say, yes, boss. She's like, I'm not
Yeah.
your boss. I'm like, yes, boss.
Do you guys have anything else?
Melissa?
No, I'm just real thankful that you ladies had me on. I'm just so thankful that you guys did this. This
You can
podcast in
come
general.
anytime.
Oh yeah, I'd
Legit,
love to.
anytime.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
hope
yeah.
give you her job.
What'd you say?
I said you'll give her your job.
I would
Oh,
totally give you my job.
See?
Like
Uh-oh.
totally. And I just hope the next show we do, well, we have a mini season coming up.
Yeah, I heard
And
that
then
before, yeah.
I do my show.
Mhm.
So
I have no
hope-
idea what it is yet.
I hope the funny thing is though, I think I was tossing between I settled on one because it was kind of going
Yeah.
back and forth. And I settled on the one. And I think because between the back and forth, she's like, yeah, I don't remember. I don't have no idea. I mean, you could know, Lisa, but she's like, whatever. I hope you like one of the next two shows we do because we were like, hey, Mel,
Oh,
you want to join us?
Yeah, I'd love to join you guys. Well, especially because I mean, I think that pretty much no matter what show you would do, I would listen to you guys, even if I didn't care for the show, because I just like the dynamic between you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Stop crying. I get
Yeah.
emotional.
Oh, but yeah, because there's like 3 podcasts that I listen to that I really love, and they all have yeah, pairs of people that are connected in some way, brother, sister, mother, father, daughter, and then besties, BFFs for life, the ultimate ride or dies. So, and you guys are a lot nicer to each other than the brother and sister. So at least you have that going on. But
we both have siblings, so we can see how that runs true.
Yeah. I'm an only child, so I think that dynamic is so interesting. And I do have a friend that I've had since like 6th grade, and we're still pretty close, but you ladies are so close. I really love it. But
I think it's kind of cool, right, Lisa? That people we actually like each other enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know
with
how
each
I have
other.
friends. Like legit. I think
Yeah.
at least once a week I'm like, Lisa, I don't know how I have friends. Like, why do you love me? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, psychologically, it's really a green flag that you two have been friends for so long. I think that's a real big green flag. Like if I meet someone and they're like, "Oh, I don't really have any friends," or even my husband, he like has a few people that he's known since high school. I'm like, "Okay, that's a green flag. Like someone can stand you for that long." They've seen
Right.
you ebb and flow. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it worries me when people don't have like, oh, I have tons of friends. I'm like, then no one has tons of friends. That's a red flag to me.
Yeah.
I have 1 or 2 close friends. Okay, that's a green flag. That's like people who know you. Your circle's tight. That means you're genuine. 600 friends? No.
Yeah.
Who got time for that?
Like, first of all, it's too people-y. Let's start with that.
I know, very too people-y. Yeah.
Too people-y.
Yeah. This isn't the cast of Lost with 13 people that are all trying to ebb for attention here. That's chill.
That's another reason I don't think I can ever be I can never be in Lost. Because I'm like, okay, I'm killing off half you people because there's just too many of you. Like, I can't.
Too much going on. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you from my perspective, that would be great because there's so many people that nobody's going to come looking for me to start doing shit. Oh, you got to go trek into the woods to go chase after a monster?
Very good point.
Go take Kate. She wants to follow.
You know what we could do? We
I'll
could
be
just
over
find
here with Rose.
We could build it like a treehouse somewhere in the back, close enough that we're safe, but far enough that we're out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Oh, because I would be Shannon to the core. I would be completely useless.
Yeah. Laying there taking the sun. Yeah. But I just might go further down the beach so that it's not in front of people.
Yeah. Well, because I definitely don't, especially at 40. I don't know. I definitely don't want any dude hitting on me. I guess when I was 20, I would have loved that. But now at 40, if a man is like, "You look good," I'm like, I need to change my outfit. Like this was
like go away. Like
I'm dressing for myself and for other women. I am not dressing for you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Men are weird. They're like, why do you wear makeup? Why do you breathe? Leave me alone.
Yeah. Well,
see, I don't know why people like me.
Even like back in the day when we wore masks, like one of my coworkers, like I still wore lipstick sometimes, but one of my coworkers always still wore lipstick, even though she had a mask on, because she's like, I just love putting on lipstick and I don't give a shit. So
I think because she looks good. I don't care if anyone else sees me. I love that.
Yeah, she's
and
like,
my father always says, when you look good, you feel good.
Feel good.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
you do it for you. You do it to feel good.
Yeah. But yeah, ladies, I'm just thankful. I can't wait to hear more, and I would love to come back. Yeah, you'll get sick of me at one point.
Okay, no, I'm about to say, I don't know. You don't know what you just did to yourself. We are the Jacobs of the podcasting world. You are now a candidate.
Oh no, I drank the water. Oh no.
Does that make us both Jacob, or like is one of us Jacob and one of us is like Barry? Or should I say Chaz?
I'd like to think we take turns, depending on the time, depending on the day, we take turns.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're both. Sometimes we're both Barry. Sometimes we're both Jacob.
Sometimes we're both smashing the bottle.
More often than not, we're both smashing the
bottle. Smashing the bottle. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely forgot what I was gonna say. I'm like, what did I look at that reminded me? And now I forgot.
Yeah.
Go brush your teeth, Lisa. You remember.
Yeah.
You remember.
Oh man. I hate when that happens. I really
It's the story of my life. Yeah.
I don't know. But
she'll remember like sometime tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she's like, Bliss, can you get on the air real quick?
Yeah.
Can I say, I really love when you come and guest because it's just such a positive experience, and it
Oh, thank you.
really does already feel like we're hanging out with an old friend.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the level. Yeah. Yeah.
You are
You are.
So
you are the level. You're not on the level, you are the level.
If you knocked on my door, I would let you in.
oh,
I mean,
oh shit.
she doesn't let anyone
Damn.
in.
I know, man.
I would offer you dinner.
I think it's oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh, shit.
No, I might need to come up there.
You are most
But yeah,
welcome.
I think it's like the East Coast vibes because even though I've lived in Texas for so long, I really still feel like
You're an East
Maryland and the
Coaster.
East Coast is my home. Yeah.
Upper South?
So
It
As
never
I
leaves
like
you.
to call Maryland, Maryland is Upper South.
yeah, yes, exactly.
Upper South.
It
Because
is
it's
true.
really not the South,
But it is,
but it
yeah.
kind of is a
It's
little
South
bit.
adjacent
So
and
it's like
definitely
Upper South.
yeah.
It's like North South.
Yeah. It's trying to be two things at once.
It's
But I think
listen,
Maryland
me
is
and Brittany
accepted
coined the
by
term,
both.
and we
And
stand by it.
Maryland, yes, yes.
Now, you have
Maryland is,
states like Missouri, and I think it's like the redheaded stepchild. The South
yeah.
is not South enough for the South. It's too South for the North. Nobody wants it.
But Maryland is
It's
kind of like
Yeah.
that too, a little bit.
but isn't Maryland and is that accepted? Like any like people from the
I
North
think
will hang out. Like they're like, okay, Maryland, you know.
well, there's like the deep South where that's like Georgia and Mississippi, and
That
they
doesn't
don't accept anyone. But
they don't
yeah,
accept
but
nobody.
I
That's
think
to be
yeah,
fair.
but I would say it's part of the South, and also Texas is just Texas. It's just by itself, and it
It's
likes
a whole
being that way.
country.
Yeah,
It's its own country.
and like I tell my husband, I'm like, he's always like, we could just secede. I'm like, the rest of the country doesn't care. It's okay with that. It doesn't care. But I do definitely see Maryland as being a mix, and also there's the beach, and kind of the farmland, the country. It's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
So
everyone loves
yeah,
Maryland is, I
Maryland.
mean, I like
yeah,
Maryland.
yeah,
I'm not even gonna
yeah.
lie. I like Maryland, but
I mean,
I feel like
the
some
Wire is one of the
states.
greatest shows ever. So, and
It
that's
is.
yeah, yeah.
Have
Talk
you
about a great
watched
show.
it, Agnes?
Oh my God, yes, it's
Uh oh.
amazing.
Okay, to be fair, when a lot of these
Spice
shows
Melanie
were out,
series?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The Wire is
When a
a
lot
good
of these
show.
shows were out, I was legit working like 60,
Yeah.
70 hours a
Oh
week.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
never saw my
yeah.
kid.
I didn't watch it
Um,
when it first came out. I watched
Yeah, I
it
watched it
on
years. I watched it years later.
and then, you
I
know,
watched it during COVID for an uplifting. I was like, you know what, let me
uplifting,
see
right?
this. And then I started watching. I was like, God damn, I can't turn away. But oh my God, open a vein. Yeah. I'm like, this is some heavy ass shit. Talk
Well,
about
Lisa had me watching this stupid show called Lost, so I really couldn't watch
yeah.
anything else.
Honestly, that's a
Amazing.
better escape maybe than yeah, yeah. So you're
I
totally
think I
far off.
started The Wire because I heard somewhere that
I know.
Detective Bunk in The Wire
Yes.
Mm.
was loosely based on one of the police officers involved in the Adnan Syed.
And Adnan Syed
Oh
case.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was like, I keep hearing
Talk about an
about
interesting case.
Bunk,
Yeah.
Detective Bunk, and I'm like, the
Yeah.
hell? And so then I was like,
Mhm.
oh, The Wire? Yeah, I'll give it a shot. It's a cop show. I'm, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is
Yeah.
a good show.
And
No, it
during
was
that time,
yeah.
I was listening to a lot of wrongful convictions and
Mhm.
like podcasts of that
Exactly.
nature. I went on
Yeah.
a complete rabbit hole, and then I
Mhm.
stopped because I was getting so angry. We
It's
had
hard.
I
COVID.
had
Yeah.
to
We
I had to kind of
had
stop too. Yeah.
what was going on with I can't remember. There's a lot
Uh-oh,
going
pick
on.
one.
Yeah, a lot going on
Right.
that was
Pick
heavy. Yeah.
one of the 600 different racial
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was just like, you know what? I had to actually stop. I had to pull myself away. I had to put my
Mhm.
hand in the sand and take care of my mental health.
Well, of course, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and especially like, Eric Gardner,
Mhm.
with the whole fucking cigarette, he was
Yeah.
killed like 15 minutes from where I lived at the time. It's like,
Mm.
I know exactly where that is. I
So
Mhm.
it's really
pass there all the time. It's like
Mhm.
so close that it really, really hits home. It's
Yeah.
and not to sound like heartless, right? But it becomes so much less in the abstract and so much more
Oh, of
that
course.
you just can't push it aside. You just can't get away from it.
Yeah. Well, a normal person would be well, but also, I mean, there is something to be said where it's kind of the human condition that until it happens to you, you know,
Right.
I mean, I'm not Jewish, but I do come from Jewish heritage. So I did do I mean, a lot of research and I took classes in college and stuff like that. So I mean, it's very true, even historically, as a history major, that until it literally is in your face, so it directly affects you. It's
Right.
kind of the human condition to be like, oh, well, whatever. And
Right.
that's true
Mhm.
to myself, even in everyday things where, like at the salon, I had a client that reached out to me once and she said, oh, do you accept clients that are fat? And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I've been refused from several salons because I'm fat. And in Texas, you do have the right to refuse anybody for any reason
Are you?
whatsoever. Yeah. So, but I was honestly like, and I didn't want to be rude to this woman, but I was like, no offense, ma'am, but your money spends the same. So, I mean, I was like, I'll take anyone that is not a horrible person. And, you know, it's hair is hair for as far as I'm
That's
concerned.
a good start. That's
Yeah.
bananas to me. I remember
Yeah.
I was going to a party. This is like, oh, pre kids. And
Mhm.
all I needed was a wash and set because if I washed my hair at home, it wasn't going
Mm,
to dry in time. So I went to the salon and the lady goes, "Oh, I can't do black hair." I'm like,
mm,
"Huh?" And
yeah.
this cute little Chinese lady, she must have been about knee high to to a grasshopper. She's like, "I do your hair. I do your hair." I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
"Wash your set, call and day." The woman said I can't do black hair.
Yeah.
I'm mixed, so my hair is a little, it's a little,
Hmm.
it's weird.
And maybe
The
this is
woman
an
that she ended
unpopular
up
opinion.
doing, wait, I'm
I
sorry.
feel no, I just, as an aside, I feel like maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but that bothers me less than saying you refuse me because I'm fat. Because
Mm,
text texturally, I don't know.
There's
I
a
could
this,
understand if
yeah.
you're like the same way you could say, I don't know how to do curly hair or I don't know how to do straight
hmm.
hair. Because maybe you just don't want to fuck up.
Okay, wait, there's more to my story.
Oh, then I take
That's
it
why,
back and
but
I'll shut the fuck up.
no, right. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I'm like, okay, not a problem. I left it
Hmm.
alone because
Hmm.
different tech. The woman she ended up doing though had very tight,
Oh, then
thick,
fuck that
curly
bitch.
hair.
Oh
That's what
Lord, yeah.
had me just like,
Fuck her all the way to Texas
and that's why
Yeah.
I was, and God, it was
or
so long. The
Florida.
woman's hair, I remember looking, I'm like, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. But anyhow,
Mhm.
but the point was, I was just like, the
Yeah.
woman
Yeah.
wasn't of color though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, go
'Cause
fuck you, the horse you rode in and your mama. But
yeah.
um, so it's just like uh and just
'Cause with me as a hairstylist, I always say,
take
like,
fat people. How does that
yeah, I mean,
make a
my God, yeah.
difference?
Well, I don't, and also and I guess because the only thing I was like, well, the chairs can take like 400 pounds. I'm like, and this woman, I mean, I'm about 200 pounds. So I was like, if this chair can take me, I mean, I mean, my God, is this Ursula coming in? Like, and she was a normal woman, you know, but, as far
She
as
wanted her
me as
tentacles curled.
yeah, as far as me as a hairdresser, I'll straight up tell people, I'm like, I'm not the best that money can pay for X service. For like perms, for instance. Like I have a client that she gets her perm done elsewhere and I cut her hair because I'm like, can I do a perm? Yes. Is it going to be worth your money? Probably not. No. And it's going to take forever and we're both going to be miserable. So it's just better that you go spend your money elsewhere. So that's what I've definitely had people that want certain things like designs in their haircut, and I'm like, I can do a line, but if you want the Dallas Cowboys logo elsewhere, yeah, you
I'm
know,
not your girl.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So,
That's exceptional customer service in my eyes.
well, I will say there are some people. I've had a few people be like, "No, no, I trust you." I'm like, "No, I'm telling you,
Right.
I've done hair long enough that you're not going to get the best result with me here." And I generally know other people, because for a while I did know a girl that did designs before she left the business. But I'd be like, "Kira is much better at this, girl. Why are we?" I'm like, "Your money is better spent with her." And I don't want to take your money and then it looks fucked up. Like I
Right.
want you to look hot. My whole
Right.
job is that you get laid at the end of this, not that you go home and cry. So, but yeah, man, I'll just say, yeah, that it's just been great meeting you ladies, and I look forward to many more. And you know, maybe one day
We're
I'll
gonna
give both
hold
of
you
you a
to
wash and
that.
set. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah, yeah,
I need a
yeah,
good wash
Yep.
and set and a head massage.
yeah,
Oh, the head massage is the best part.
Oh
oh
God.
yeah, yeah. In
Yeah.
beauty school day one, they tell you if you can't do a good head massage, like just call it a day.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah.
glad
I
they
support
told you
that
that because
message.
sometimes I'm just like, what are you doing? I mean, like, why am I here? But there's
Yeah.
sometimes I go, I'm like, oh,
Well, you
Going to
really gotta
sleep now.
train people. And even I've done head massages on some people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're being too hard." But then some people are like, "Girl, put some pressure in there," you know? So
Harder.
But the
yeah,
ability to
Harder,
do is what
baby, harder.
matters. Like, know your
exactly.
skill.
Yes, yes.
And is
Yeah.
it weird when people look at you when you're washing their hair? I'm like,
Honestly, yeah. Well, for me,
like,
because I'm
close
kind
your
of
eyes. Stop
I'm kind of
looking at
big
me.
chested. So and by the and I don't stand behind there's different shampoo bowls. Like I don't stand behind them. I stand like to their side.
Side.
So especially if it's a gentleman, like they'd get an eyeful. So but yeah, most people they do kind of but yeah, I think the funniest is when like I'm trying to cut someone's hair or color their hair and they instead of looking at me to speak to me through the mirror, they'll try to turn their
Turn
head.
around.
Oh,
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that your mom raised you right. I'm so glad that your mom raised you right, but you do not need to look me in the eyes." I was like, "That's one of the reasons the mirror is there. If you need to
right.
communicate, that's what the mirror is for. Because I need you to stay."
Right
Well,
here.
Still.
yeah, because there was a woman I was trying to give her highlights, and I was like, "Man, this has been taking half an hour too long. You need to seriously." That's a little bit of the blessing and the curse of the younger ones with their phones
Oh,
because they'll just be there. But the thing is sometimes I'm like, I have to cut your bangs. Like you have to, and to, I'm telling you to get them to lift their head up just to cut some bangs. I'm like, I'm
Right.
like
giving you,
pulling teeth.
yeah, I'm like, I'm giving you the haircut that you're requesting. Can you literally just hold your head up long enough for me to do that? You know? Yeah, but yeah, man, yeah. So Lost is great. I'm so glad it brought us together, and I'm so glad I got to hear all your opinions. And I'm really glad you liked the ending, Agnes. I was a little nervous, but I'm glad that it
I
tied a nice bow for you.
yes,
Yeah.
I
It did.
really didn't think she was gonna like it as much as she did. I thought she was just gonna walk away like, yeah, okay, fits.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
appreciate good TV. I am a professional TV watcher. I take my job very serious.
Good to know.
Melissa, I think
Yes.
I don't know. Anything else we need to add? Because Melissa's like, I have a life. I need to
Yeah.
go. I was like, I have a husband I gotta take care of.
Yeah. No, I mean, if anyone's ever in Houston, Texas, I'd love to do your hair. If you like to read books, I have books in almost every genre. It's melissaallgood.com. One L in both of my names and two S's. And yeah, just I love reading, I love eating. So yeah, if you like Tex-Mex and you like books, then follow me on Insta. And yeah, just and now I can finally share some lost memes now that I know you're done, Agnes, because every now and
Share
then
them all.
every now and then I'd see a meme. I'm like, oh no, Agnes, they follow me. I don't want them to see. I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah.
My God,
So
nobody thinks of
well,
us
because
like
every now
that.
and then I'd see like a Juliet and Sawyer thing. I'd be like, wait a minute, they've seen that, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, I could, yeah.
I mean, I am so bad. I would like, oh, that's cute, and not click, and I
Well,
will forget it.
thank God.
I
Yeah,
forget
what a
things.
blessing.
That's a lot. I think a lot of Lisa's gaslighting didn't work because I forget that she said something.
Yeah,
That is
probably.
true.
Yeah.
That is
So-
true. Because I have said some true shit and I have said some bullshit. And
Oh,
you're
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, whatever. The next episode comes and the slate is tabula rasa over here. Glad I did
Huh?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of Melissa's cool Insta and info would be in our show notes.
Yes. And her books are good, so read them.
Read them. Read them.
Hmm Yes.
We want a good character arc, as we discussed
Yeah.
here. Hers are much better than the writers gave their characters. Okay.
Yeah, at least the women.
The
Yeah.
women,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yes, definitely the women get their due in my books. Yeah.
Power to the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I allowed to do that?
And there's this. I forget. There's it depends, and then there's
Yeah. I'll go
It's
this. Yeah.
other this. You know,
peace. Yeah.
I'm more like save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Then you do need to come down here, and I definitely got to do your hair so you can get that cowboy. Yes.
She is all
I-
about those cowboys and that parade
Yeah.
that you mentioned.
Oh, in
I-
February. So right around
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what?
And
I'm not going
yeah.
to the Podfest convention, Lisa. I'm sorry. I'll save my money for the
She's
For
like,
the
I need to
rodeo.
cash in
Yeah.
my
The
ticket.
rodeo.
Sorry.
a 6-foot tall, bearded, tatted cowboy who likes to hunt. That's what I.
There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
as long as they want like a little city girl. 5 foot nothing spinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of you guys listening to this, I hope you're too young to understand what I just said. But
I think I'm
Oh no,
too
I
young
hope
to
they understood
understand
it all.
also.
It's yeah. It's
Uh-huh.
hilarious. I hope they got it all.
ask your mom. She was like, well, you
Yeah.
well, ask your dad rather.
Don't do that. Hey mom,
Everyone-
what does this mean?
Yeah.
Everyone listening is 18 and over. Okay.
You know
Oh
what?
yeah.
We live in the future. We have Google, so
Right.
Oh golly.
Right. Hello.
These
Google.
kids know more. Trust me, I'm doing their hair. They are already very aware of every sexual identity that can be by the time they're old enough to watch Lost. So
And then,
yeah.
mind you, and so they're Googling. They're like, Mom, Dad, uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I know how I got here. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That might
Yeah.
feel a bit
No, but-
inappropriate.
Okay.
Oh no, it's good. I love it. Yeah.
But seriously, like Agnes said, thank you so much. Like really
Oh yes.
recording
thank
with
you, ladies.
you is fun, and the second time was just as fun as the first time. So we
I agree. Oh yeah.
Don't you feel like you're home now? Like
It does. Yeah. I feel like you're all my girls.
the
Yeah, I feel like we're
invitation stands in person, on Zoom, whatever. Executive decision has just been made.
by both
Okay.
of us
Oh.
at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair,
Yeah.
we share
Ah,
a brain.
I lie. She
I love it.
signs. I say shit. She backs me. It works. No, it's-
It does work out.
And then a week later, like, so what did I agree to? I'm
Wait,
still
wait,
in.
is that-
I just can't even know the
yeah,
details.
she's still in. She just doesn't know what it is.
Is that really my signature? I don't remember that. Yeah.
When did I buy a house
Yeah.
and a new car? I didn't want
Yeah.
this car. Who's driving my
happened here?
car? Vroom, vroom. No.
Meanwhile, back at the farm, he says, kidnap me.
That will happen soon. Oh yeah, but
have
I'm not going to
expensive
Wisconsin
taste.
anytime soon. So
I have very expensive taste, Lisa. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. You can't kidnap me.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where's my cat?
I know. I was about to say, where's your cat?
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
She's
no.
like,
There's no
"Mom."
cats around here when I need one.
Say hi.
Oh.
My cat's always with me.
No,
He
no,
does
no.
not
Yeah.
leave my side. He's
My
the only
cat
man
comes
that
up
loves
here.
me.
He headbutts the door, and so
Yeah.
I've been squirting him because at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Oh goodness.
this is not what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been trying to get him out of the habit, so he doesn't really come over here anymore because he gets squirted.
Yeah. Wow. Hey,
Tough
sometimes.
love.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Patrick.
here comes the dog to be like, "What's that? What's that, Mom? What's that? Hello there. What were you doing?" Just pull some fuzz out of her mouth.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah, you want it back? All right. No, but seriously, thank you.
Yeah.
The invitation stands, like we said, for sure.
Awesome.
Next
Yeah.
series, and possibly when we do the Lost documentary.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Agnes is like,
It's
no.
2 against 1. You've been outvoted.
Well, you know what? What about Melissa and Lisa just do it?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the spice. We need both of you.
put
Whoever
yourself
is
in the
the
corner.
third, whoever's the third person, it doesn't matter as much. It needs to be the both of you. Yeah.
We're not doing a documentary. No, we're not doing that, Lisa.
It's just a one-off.
No,
I can't believe I brought it. I feel guilty for bringing it up.
we're not doing that. No.
Yes, we are.
Well, she has to find a way to get to it. I will put it that way. It is a little
But
hard.
can't you watch it online? I thought that you could stream it.
Yeah, it's an app, but I know I got to see it when it was the live airing, the first airing, and then it was like a Q&A, and they had like Alex, Ben's daughter, was
Oh,
there.
okay.
And that was really God. And let me tell you, talk about a shock, because now she's like an adult. So she's in movies where she's like, making out with men, and she's like an adult woman. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, she's 16.
Yeah.
So for a split second, because she looks just the same. I mean, she's obviously a woman now, but
Mhm.
when you look at it for a split second, you're like, oh my God, it's a teenager. And you're like, oh wait, no, she's a grown woman making out with a handsome man. Let's watch more of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm like, oh yes, she is of age. and in a consenting relationship. Okay, yeah.
It's okay.
But
She's not being
yeah,
rude.
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yes,
good to
thank
know.
God. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it is available through. I forget what the app is. It's like Vivio, and I
Okay.
know at the when they did the meet and greet or whatever, the guys that created it said that they did have a lot of that content where they did ask the actors, like for instance, they did ask Alex, I forget the actress's name, Tiana, I think, about what it was like
Yeah,
to
like
do the
Raymond.
death scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, what it was like to do the death scene. They just didn't put that in the documentary, but they have that footage. So they were
Oh.
like, yeah, we could post that later. And I was like, oh, good gravy. I gotta wait for all this. I kind of just I'm one of those people that give it to me all or give me nothing.
That's why I kind of like
Yeah.
watching TV in 2024 because
Yes.
I can just binge watch everything. I could like, oh,
And
I'll
just
wait till
call it a
this is
day.
over. Yeah, and just call. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not here waiting around. I want it done in a day. And yeah.
When is the series over? Okay, then I watch it. That
The
way I
week
can just watch.
after. Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
Lost was on regular TV, my husband and I would always watch together. And we would DVR. We had a DVR, so we would DVR it. And then it was like his schedule is very unpredictable, so I never knew if he was gonna be there like the day it aired or the next day. Sometimes I'd have to wait till like the weekend. And then it got to the point where we would watch the episode, it would end on a cliffhanger, and he would be even more frustrated than I was.
Yeah.
And then he decided that we're not gonna watch until 2 or 3 episodes have recorded. And I'm like,
Okay.
what the fuck are you doing to me? And he's like, but I can't wait for the cliffhanger. And I was like, but you fucking moron. Like, we're waiting now 4 weeks.
Yeah. A whole month. And plus at the time people were talking about it, so you could have been spoiled. Yeah.
Exactly. And we used to do game night like almost every week.
Oh,
And
yeah, I love
our
game night.
friends that we did game night with they watch the show also. So it's like, you can't talk about it. Like, don't you just see? No, don't talk about it. Please don't say anything. And it's like, oh
goodness.
I want to talk about it, but he won't let me watch. It got to the point where I just cheated and I just watched it without him and then pretended like I didn't see it. I was like, I
oh,
can't
the
do
lies
this.
come out now.
I can't
The
do
lies
this.
come
Now,
out.
but meanwhile, that's how you watch TV now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's the only way you watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But
that's how me and my husband watch a lot of shows, because we watch a lot of reality TV competition shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll watch it and I'll get all the drama, and then we'll watch it together, and I'll fast forward and be like, oh yeah, so she's fighting with her, so that's why this next vote is gonna happen like this. And he's like, oh good, yes, okay, perfect, yes, yeah. Yeah. I was like, they kissed the same boy, so now watch this vote. And he's like, okay, all right, good, yes, let's see what that. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
you found the perfect recipe because that works for you guys. I had to lie to my
Exactly, yeah.
husband. I was like, what are you talking about? I never saw this before.
Yeah.
Like pretending
Yeah.
and shit. Because it got to the later seasons and I was like, oh my God, like I really want to find out. And
Oh
it's,
yeah.
and as it's wrapping up, everybody is talking about it. And it's like, he wants me to wait?
Yeah. I do
So I
remember
did
when
that
the
a few
time
times.
when the time jumping started, because we didn't have a DVR, and he was at one point like, wait a minute, because it was when like Sun and Lapidus were going back to where the Dharma Initiative and all that, and they were like, oh my gosh, the other people are in the 70s, and that's when he was like, wait, what the hell is happening? He's like, I am so confused, and I told him, I was like, shh, quiet. And then once we got to the commercial, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck's happening, but you need to shut the fuck up so I can figure out what's happening. Then I'll let you know at the end of the episode. And he's like, all right, I'll just sit here and look
just
at the
be
pictures.
here.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
exist. And then you let me know. I was like, okay, sounds good. Yeah.
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 All right, sorry.
All right,
We
ladies.
keep like,
No, I know we're
four
having too
more
much
of these.
fun, but I
I
gotta
know.
pretend like I made something for dinner. Yeah.
I know, I gotta go
So
act like these kids ate dinner.
yeah.
When they cut, their rooms are not upstairs. So when I see one of them walk up the stairs, it's like they want something.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All the ways that you can find Melissa are in the show notes. So make sure you check out her and her Instagram and her books. And we remind you to visit assassinsips.com for all the other ways to find stuff that Agnes and I are doing. And if you want to support the show. And drink responsibly. Please don't drink and drive. And until next time, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Agnes.
And I'm Melissa.
And we're out of here.
Bye, guys.
See you later. Bye.